Chapter 617. After the long article was written, it once again caused an uproar on the internet, especially when it completely separated Jin Shiyue's fans from Chen Guang's own fans, who want to see their idol being deceived by a scumbag. Under his own Weibo, Chen Guang once again witnessed the breadth and depth of Chinese. Other than those who kept in line, there were all kinds of nasty words. Even though he had been through a lot, he was still fuming with anger. He wanted to raise his hand and summon a nuclear bomb from the sky to destroy those who were scolding him the loudest. However, Chen Guang could not stay in front of the computer and read the comments. Instead, he prepared to drive to the city. At 2 o'clock in the afternoon, Tianguang Brokerage officially recruited all kinds of staff at their company's office. As the chairman and self-proclaimed CEO, Chen Guang had to personally attend the interview. Especially according to Enchanting, the person planted by the higher-ups had already made his way out of the company in the morning and mixed into the long queue of interviewees. "Little Enchanting, let's go," Chen Guang asked before leaving. Enchanting had been sitting in front of the computer and did not even lift her head. "You go. I have nothing to do today, so I won't be going." "Huh? Then what are you going to do?" Chen Guang asked curiously. Enchanting clenched her teeth and squeezed the mouse. "I don't care what this person says about you. Violent, fickle, I don't care. He's not wrong, but he can't say that you won the world championship because of shady dealings. If people really believe that, how am I going to run the National League? I'm counting on you to boost my popularity. Isn't he undermining me? You don't care, right? Then I'll help you. Don't stop me. Then you can't go out. I know, I'm in this room. I'm looking for someone. I can't let him slander you so easily. Right? I don't know the person sent by the higher-ups. How am I going to tell?" Enchanting waved her hand indifferently. "I heard from the higher-ups that you definitely know them." "Definitely?" Chen Guang was puzzled. "Why are you talking so much nonsense? You'll understand once you get there." After arriving at the place, Chen Guang walked through the densely packed crowd. Along the way, be it the various department heads of Tianguang Brokerage who were in charge of maintaining order, or the interviewees who were queuing up, they all looked up and greeted him respectfully as Chief Chen and Mr. Chen. No matter how noisy the internet was, there were still quite a number of people coming for interviews. After all, they all knew that this startup company had a huge investment of 130 million yuan. Now was the time when people had more money than they could spend. The earlier they got into this company, the earlier they could stand their ground, and in the future, they might even become a founding father. What if the other party got angry because of the black material? The icing on the cake is as light as a feather, but providing timely help is heavier than Mount Tai. Okay? Of course, although there were many interviewees, talented people were still a scarce resource. Most of the truly capable middle and upper management personnel were currently in a wait-and-see attitude towards Tianguang Brokerage. Fortunately, Tang Xiaokai had already anticipated this situation. Although only Yu Hong could be regarded as a core general in Tang Jie Foundation, the rest of the company's senior management personnel were also well-behaved and completely sufficient. According to Chen Guang's business theory of learning and selling on the spot, top talents were full of creativity, such as the old man himself. High-end talents had subjective initiative, such as Yu Hong or Enchanting. Ordinary talents could perform their own duties and complete their own business, such as the other department managers of Tianguang Brokerage. Ordinary employees could play the role of gears in the company under the premise of supervision and management. Those who wanted to. Sabotage had to be coaxed into thinking that they were talented and not doing anything bad, such as Tang Ying. As for Chen Guang's previous worries about how he would recognize the people sent by the higher-ups, this was not a problem at all. The elders were really generous. They actually sent over the believers that he had trained in Shun's special training camp. Roughly counting, only a few people were missing. There were a total of 35 Dar believers. Excluding the hidden military temperament of these people, Chen Guang more or less had some impression of their appearance. If he really couldn't be sure, he just picked up the cup and looked at the faith value threads that appeared on these people's heads. The faith value threads of the believer level were greenish-gray with a hint of halo, which was completely different from the ordinary white faith value threads. Halfway through the recruitment, there was a small interlude. Tang Ying seemed to have just finished an operation and decided to come over to ask about it. Then, she was shocked by the mighty security department under the administrative department that Chen Guang had created. It turned out that after such a short period of time, all the departments were recruiting people at the same time. Chen Guang went around everywhere. First, he asked Yu Hong, who had his head bandaged and was injured, to create a security department on the spot. Then, he went around to pick people up. When he met students from Shun, he didn't say anything. No matter what kind of person they were facing, he would first send them to the security department. Although Yu Hong was quite drunk, he also knew how to cooperate with others. Based on the principle of as long as you're happy, he absolutely did not object to Chen Guang's decision. He understood Tang Xiaokai's secret message very well and fully cooperated with Chen Guang to fool around. This is crazy. Recruiting so many security guards. Yu Hong didn't say anything, but Tang Ying didn't care so much. She pulled Chen Guang to the side and asked, "Why does the company need so many security guards?" Chen Guang rolled his eyes. "All right then, the security department will be like this for the time being. As for these special forces elites, it might be better if they came from the police force, but to let those who came from the army sit in other positions so quickly was really a little difficult for them. But it didn't matter. Fortunately, there were special talents like Li Big Mouth, who came from the kitchen. A few minutes later, Tang Ying was speechless again. The other departments hadn't even recruited any good chefs yet, and now you're giving me a canteen department under the operations department? In just a few minutes, you've managed to recruit 6 chefs. Fine, these people do look like chefs, but that's not what we should be focusing on right now. How much do you want to eat? No, this chef. Chen Guang immediately flew into a rage. My dear sister Tang Ying, as the saying goes, to make a horse run fast, you must first let the horse eat its fill. Humans are made of iron, and rice is made of steel. If you don't eat, you'll starve. As the saying goes, before the troops move, rations and fodder go first. My strategy of making the kitchen first is definitely the best. Look at this Li Big Mouth. Look at his stomach. Look at the grease on his face. One look, and you can tell he's an experienced cook. What a rare talent. Tang Ying was caught off guard by Chen Guang's basket of honeyed theories. She secretly cursed herself for leaving the country too early and not being familiar with the local proverbs. She couldn't refute him. Fine, you're right. Of course. What did I miss it? Very good. 6 more people have been inserted. There were only about 10 people left. Chen Guang secretly shrugged his shoulders. Sister Tang Ying is really weak. You want to stop me from squandering in this state? Please go back and practice the 3 skills of a miser before coming out to fight with me. You're so weak now. Chu Hanji was quite proud of himself. Early in the morning, when the other brothers gathered to discuss the details of the interview, he quietly put his registration order at the back of the queue. At that time, everyone was in high spirits. One said he wanted to enter the marketing department, another said he wanted to be in charge of administration, and there was even someone who said he was a talent and could be promoted to manager anytime. Chu Hanji only wanted to say, "Brothers, you should take a piss and look at yourself. I asked you to type with 1 finger, and you still want to be in charge of administration? We are all people who talk with our fists. Chief Instructor Chen's company is also doing business. Although we're definitely going to enter the company, we should at least find some positions that we can do." But no matter what, Chu Hanji's cold water couldn't extinguish the enthusiasm of the brothers. Everyone even secretly compared to see who would enter the best department and be the most useful. As Secretary Chu's nephew, although Chu Hanji was also a soldier, he was much more familiar with such things. He knew that with the capabilities of this group of brothers, regardless of whether they applied for the administrative department or the marketing department, they would ultimately not be able to escape the fate of protecting the security department. There were only a few brothers from the police system, and now they had barely managed to sneak into the marketing department and the administrative department. There's also a talented police colleague who actually taught himself accounting and had a F*King certificate. Currently, he was looking down on everyone in the finance department. His poor and arrogant look was infuriating. Chu Hanji and a group of brothers who were still waiting for the interview secretly rolled their eyes. Believe it or not, We will fight for the position of deputy manager for you to see. Chu Hanji really felt that he had a chance. First of all, the security department was obviously full, and he would not be a security guard. Secondly, he didn't have the ability to be a chef, and he couldn't go to the cafeteria like Li Dazue. Thirdly, he deliberately fell behind. Wasn't that waiting for those honest men in front of him to fill up these unreliable positions? Moreover, Uncle said that he mentioned me in front of Chief Instructor Chun. Later, when I say my name, Chief Instructor will definitely remember me. I am Secretary Chu's nephew. Although it is shameful to be a backdoor entrant, Chief Instructor should at least give me the position of deputy manager for the sake of my uncle. Therefore, with such a thought, Chu Hanji sat in front of the interviewer. He applied for the marketing department. He felt that in terms of being a marketing specialist, he really had some unique advantages that other brothers couldn't compare with. Chu Hanji, this name is quite good. Young man, you are quite refreshing. Where did you work before? The person in charge of interviewing him was the marketing manager of Tianguang Agency, a middle-aged man who looked quite amiable. On the other side, Chun Guang had already smelled the scent and came to this side of the table. He stood beside the interviewer's table and picked up his interview materials under Chu Hanji's expectant gaze. Hello, Chief Chun. Hello, manager. I used to do some international relations overseas. I know English. That's right. This was Chu Hanji's trump card. On the other side, Chun Guang looked down at his name, and his eyes really lit up. Chu Hanji was secretly delighted. I heard that Chief Instructor's English is quite good, and he must be like me. This time, I will definitely be the deputy manager. Suddenly, Chun Guang slapped his forehead. Oh yes, the operations department still needs a cleaning department. The entire floor is ours. This cleaning task is very heavy. The marketing manager and the operations manager, sitting at a table not far away, were stunned at first, and then they agreed in unison. Chief Chun is right. We don't need to outsource the cleaning work. We need to set up a special cleaning department. Chun Guang nodded. The two brothers were really cooperative. Then it's settled. Chu Hanji, you can come to the cleaning department. I have high hopes for you. Damn, Chief Instructor, this is different from the script that I thought of. Chapter 618. Chu Hanji's face turned green. I know English. Don't do this to me. I don't want to sweep the floor. His mind started to picture himself wearing a cleaner's uniform, holding a broom and swaying in the corridor. He shivered. It's so scary. Chief Instructor, to be honest, I am serious. I, Chu Hanji, am not only a noble prince in Shun's special training camp, but I'm also a little famous internationally. Don't change the gun in my hand to a broom. Don't change my special combat uniform to a cleaner's uniform. How am I going to face people in the future? Blinking his eyes, Chu Hanji looked at Chun Guang. Chief Instructor, can you see how panicked I'm looking at you? Chun Guang and Chu Hanji looked at each other for 3 seconds. Wow, not bad, young man. Why are you so happy? I like your big bright eyes. One look, and I know you're a good young man who understands me. No wonder you are my believer. Then Chun Guang gave Chu Hanji a thumbs up and patted his shoulder. Young man, don't let me down. Do your best. Do your best. Wait, Chief Instructor, my eyes are so bright since I was born. This is not because I am happy. Don't give me a thumbs up to thank me. I'm so nervous. Also, I don't know how to do a cleaner's job. Do your best and thank you. Chief Chun, I know. You won't let me down. Go to the side. There are many people waiting behind. If you do a good job, I will promote you to be the chief of the cleaning department. Chu Hanji didn't even have a chance to object. He ran to the side and squatted down. He was probably starting to doubt his life. Those brothers who had already entered the security department and other departments laughed secretly when they saw Chu Hanji's confused look. You deserve to be smart. Being a security guard in the security department is better than being the chief of the cleaning department, right? At least the security guards' uniforms looked decent, and they could barely maintain the military temperament. For some reason, when they thought of Chu Hanji wearing that super clean uniform, the security guards were inexplicably satisfied. The 10 or so Shun students who were still in the back weren't much better off than Chu Hanji. They were all shivering with ashen faces. Everyone had a faint premonition that the remaining people would most likely follow in Chu Hanji's footsteps. Sure enough, as they watched their brothers being pushed over one after another, many of the cleaners, who had strong bodies, squatted in a corner and silently wiped their tears. We are probably the strongest cleaning team in the world, right? If the company encounters a troublemaker, we can probably get the title of sweeping monk if we make a move before the security guards do. Thinking about it this way, life seemed to be filled with hope again. After Chen Guang shoved the remaining 10 or so people into the cleaning department, Tang Ying jumped out again. She pulled Chen Guang aside and muttered, Okay, a dozen people is enough. You see, these are all strong young people. Aren't the cleaning done by Annies? Why do you let all the young people do the cleaning? The cleaning salary is the lowest. How can they work in peace? Aren't you torturing them? Finally, Chen Guang, who had pulled everyone into the company, felt relieved. He waved his hand and said, Young lads, do you have the confidence to do a good job in the company's cleaning? Chu Hanji and the other fresh and hot cleaners said weakly, Yes, each person will be paid 2,000 a month. Do you have any objections? The chief instructor didn't seem very satisfied, and the cleaners' voices were slightly louder. No. Chen Guang finally blinked and asked, Do you have the confidence to follow me and do something big? The hidden meaning in his words reminded everyone, including Chu Hanji, that Tianguang brokerage was just a cover. Think about your real job, your real position, and think about what we do. You are now writing cleaning. Read it as the first batch of special agents of the Guangdong General Administration. Our real enemy is not the garbage on the ground, but the Special Affairs Bureau and all the internal force martial artists who use their personal strength to override the country's power and the people's heads. Young lads, don't feel inferior just because you're a cleaner now. Don't forget your original intention, and you will succeed. Everyone's eyes gradually focused, and their eyes were filled with fighting spirit. They shouted in unison, Yes. The janitor's passionate roar could even be heard clearly in the interview hall far away. Chen Guang turned back and winked at Tang Ying, then patted her on the shoulder. Sister Tang Ying, you really don't understand. How can you look down on cleaners? A clean and tidy working environment can make the company full of creativity. How important a position is this? Also, don't underestimate my personal charm. Tang Ying looked at the back of Chen Guang, who was like a domineering CEO, and then looked at the super strong and capable cleaners who were looking at him with admiration. She was momentarily confused. Why do I feel like these people have the illusion of saving the world by being a janitor? Is there a deviation in my outlook on life? Or is there poison on Chen Guang's face? And he really has such a great personal charm? Tang Ying kept patting her head, doubting her life. During the interview in the afternoon, the entire Tianguang agency recruited a total of about 60 to 70 people. Other than the security department, cleaning department, and kitchen, the canteen department, which were personally supervised by Chen Guang, the other departments were also very strict in selecting talents. They would rather have a shortage of people than to let go of people randomly. So the interview process was very strict. Chen Guang was known for messing around, but the middle and senior executives sent by Tang Shaokai did not dare to do so. However, the early stage of the company's personnel structure was basically completed in this afternoon, so a new problem arose. What about the business? And yes. Other than that, an even more serious problem was placed in front of everyone in the company. After a whole day of brewing, it seemed that Jin Shuyue's hardcore fans' anger towards the scumbag had reached its peak. Other than venting their anger on the internet, they also decided to take more direct action under the instigation of people with ulterior motives. Zhuo Wei quietly exposed the location of Tianguang Agency, then simply let the people from 8 Weekly join in and began to secretly stop the actual actions of Blackie and Jin Shuyue's diehard fans. By the time the recruitment was over, more than 100 people had gathered in front of Lida Building to demonstrate. At first, Lida Building's property management was still able to control the situation, but as time went by, Chen Guang still did not show up, and the crowd saw the recruitment sign at the entrance of the property management and knew that Tianguang Agency was holding a recruitment meeting. Under the secret instigation of the people from 8 Weekly, the crowd gradually went out of control. Charge! Smash that bastard Chun Guang's company. In the crowd, an 8 Weekly employee shouted at the top of his lungs, and then he quietly shrank back into the crowd. Although he only roared once, he had already achieved his goal. Smash this stupid company of his. This liar. Scumbag, give me back my goddess. Boycott this liar who relies on special effects to make a name for himself. Boycott Qingguang. Qingguang, come down. You have to give us, the loyal fans who have loved Jean Shuriyue for more than a decade, an explanation. Huh? Goddess Shuriyue debuted more than a decade ago? Why do I remember that it's her 10th anniversary this year? Bah, don't care about these details. In any case, Qingguang is a scumbag. That's true. Hey, you guys are so well prepared. You even have a banner? Of course, our goddess's support group never fights a battle unprepared. Brother, is your support group still looking for people? Do you think I have a future? Can you train me? Sure, you pay the membership fee of 5,000 first. So expensive. What do you know? This money doesn't belong to us. It's for the activities we often organize. For example, Goddess Shuriyue and Goddess Grace are holding a concert in Denghai. Our support group is going to go there from Wujing. Do you need to buy plane tickets? Do you need to stay? You think it's expensive? We're not earning your money. Are you a fan of Goddess Shuriyue or not? That's true. I'll transfer the money to you now. From now on, we're on the same side, good brother. This guy from Gossip Weekly didn't forget to make money. He was quite professional. The excited crowd immediately gathered. No one knew who was the first to step forward, but they raised their legs and rushed through the glass door of the Lida building. All the security guards of the building were already waiting at the door, but faced with the attack of these completely aroused fans, they were still a little overwhelmed. The security captain shouted into the walkie-talkie, "Boss, what do we do now? These people are all crazy. There are so many of them. We can't hold them off." "Hold them off, even if you can't. If we just let them in, how can I explain it to young Master Tang? How are we going to rent Lida building?" The boss on the other side of the walkie-talkie was also a little overwhelmed. He regretted not telling Qingguang the moment he realized something was wrong. He thought that after a long time, the crowd would realize that there was no effect and leave out of boredom. He didn't expect it to escalate. "What did the boss say?" the vice captain of the security team asked. The captain put the walkie-talkie into his trouser pocket. "Nothing much. Follow me, hold them off. Stop fooling around. You're breaking the law. I've already called the police." Sister Tang Ying, the people we hired today are all pretty good. Walking with Tang Ying to the elevator, Qingguang said cheerfully. He had successfully stuffed all his own people into the company. Today, he felt exceptionally satisfied. As for the resentful gazes of Chu Hanji and the other young men when they received the cleaning uniforms, Qingguang thought that they were moved to tears. Did Qingguang really not know what they were thinking? Of course not. He could see through them. But he didn't want his first batch of employees to complain to the leaders of the major departments because of their low business ability after staying in the company for 2 days. At that time, he wouldn't be able to fire them, but he also wouldn't be able to not fire them. The safest way was to arrange some easy jobs for them that didn't require much pay. Security, cleaning, canteen, these 3 treasures guaranteed that nothing would go wrong. Other than your 2 treasures and 1 candy, everything else is fine. Tang Ying rolled her eyes. You've given nicknames so quickly, instantly integrating into the team. Our company's cohesiveness is great. Tang Ying was almost defeated by Qingguang. Chapter 619. Both of them entered the elevator and went downstairs. Just as they were about to leave, the CEO of Lida Entertainment, who had finally caught up to them, stopped them at the elevator entrance and dragged them into the stairwell. Don't go out now. I was wondering why I couldn't get through to the both of you on the phone. You're in the elevator now. I'll get someone to fix the elevator's signal later." Qingguang and Tang Ying were confused. Why was he not letting them out of the door? "Bro, are you going to throw us a welcome party? Can we make a reservation? I'm totally unprepared for your sudden attack." After listening to the CEO of Lida Entertainment's explanation, they realized that the commotion downstairs had been going on for almost half an hour. The other party couldn't take it anymore and hurriedly came to block the door to ask them for a solution. If they were to rush up to the door, they would probably have to tear down the office and start all over again. Damn it, did they take the wrong medicine? Chun Guang gritted his teeth. I'll just pretend I didn't see how they scolded me on the internet. But now they're trying to tear down my company? Isn't that too much? Tang Ying was about to call the police when Chun Guang took out his phone. Didn't we just hire the security department? Sis Tang Ying, I'll let you see if these people are useful or not. You knew you were a troublemaker, so you hired so many security guards this afternoon? Tang Ying was speechless. Also, you said that Zhuo Wei and his 8 weekly magazines would be fine with you slandering you. But it turns out that you're so confident that you can hire a few dozen security guards to beat up Xingguangqi? You really have foresight. Xinguang was stunned. You're right, aren't you? You're right, my ass. Don't make things worse. Call the police first. I'll call them back. Don't worry, they know what to do and what not to do. They're professionals. They can't possibly let them in to destroy our company, right? Or do you want me to beat them up myself? Don't. You should call the security guards. Tang Ying was afraid of Xinguang. However, it would probably take a while for the security team to return. During this period of time, the security guards of the Lida building were struggling more and more. It would also take a while for the police to arrive. It was extremely taxing. Tang Ying could only watch anxiously from the corner, but this time she held onto Chun Guang tightly, refusing to let him leave. Regardless of whether Xinguang was really strong enough to take down the people outside, she couldn't let Xinguang hit people. Otherwise, things would only get worse. Zhuo Wei's defamation of Xinguang, such as violence, barbarism, and bullying, would all have to be proven true. Sister Tang Ying, don't stop me. There must be some bastards from 8 Weekly out there. I'll drag them out and we'll call it a day. Cut the crap. Do you really think you have the fiery eyes of truth? Even if you knew Zhuo Wei's men were outside, would you be able to recognize them? If you want to leave, you'll have to step over my dead body. Does Emma have to be like this? Are we acting in a movie? Over a dead body? That's exactly what I want. Are you listening or not? You win. I'm listening. At this time, the crowd outside started to make a ruckus again. It turned out that there were new changes on the internet. About 10 minutes ago, the accounts that first posted defamation of Chun Guang on Weibo were gradually banned. Their previous posts were also deleted. Even the screenshots and reposts were not spared. Other than that, a large number of fake reviewers were identified under Chun Guang's Weibo. Some of the haters who weren't fake reviewers but were extremely fierce with their words were also deleted and banned. This was obviously Enchanting's doing. No one knew who she had found, but the Weibo company, which had been waiting to see what would happen, finally took action. They invested a large amount of manpower and resources in a short period of time and started to control the defamation of Chun Guang on Weibo. Some people even tried to add a topic and cross the line, but their posts were deleted and banned within minutes. Other than that, all the major portals and information apps also followed suit. In just a short period of time, the defamation that had flooded the front page disappeared in an instant. Enchanting did what Chun Guang had always wanted to do, but didn't. She became the invisible hand behind the internet, deleting and banning all the posts of those who didn't get along with him. It was a pity that her energy was limited. She wasn't good at writing, so she didn't have the time to write articles to clear his name. But before she took action, she had already talked to the Escort Association. The Escort Association's clarifying articles came out one after another. One of the typical articles was written by Liang Fatsai, the president of the Dachuan branch. Witness Chun Guang's competition process, step by step, break the monopoly, and become the best art player in the country. Please don't maliciously smear the athlete who won glory for the country. It was signed by Liang Fatsai, the president of the Dachuan Province Darts Association. In this article, Liang Fatsai used his own perspective to describe how he discovered the peerless genius Chun Guang in Boss Jin's Darts Club, how he invited him 3 times, how he witnessed him surpass all others in the Amateur Darts League, and how he finally stepped onto the stage of the World Championship. He used his indisputable strength to win the first gold medal in the World Championship of Darts for the Huaxia people under the provocation and doubt of foreign players. achieving a breakthrough and breaking the monopoly of European and American players in this event. You can't erase the contributions of athletes just because they keep a low profile and don't make a big deal out of it. There's no such thing as success without a reason in this world. It's true that Chen Guang has amazing talent, and he's a genius in darts that ordinary people can't reach. But without hard work, no matter how talented he is, he can't always win with 9 darts. He won glory for our country in the darts event, and let us Chinese darts players, who have always been inferior to foreign players, regain our dignity for the first time. I won't allow you to smear our champion like this. Are the people of the country really that inferior that they can even doubt the most authoritative, formal, and influential world championship of darts? Just because the champion is a Chinese? What kind of internationalism is this? If other foreign players doubt our players and our champion, we might be able to understand it. We even let them re-examine all our equipment, and in order to prove his innocence, Chen Guang even bid again from a very far distance. We can understand all of this, but you dare to smear and slander him so unscrupulously. I, Liang Fatsai, will be the first to disagree. The biggest joke in the world is that you dare to say that we can influence the World Championship. You dare to say that the World Championship is rigged? Don't you know that the referees of the World Championship of Darts have always been controlled by the British? If there's really a rigging, it's only possible that we will lose the championship. Liang Fatsai's article came from the bottom of his heart, and every word he wrote was a gem. After that, the other players, those who were good at writing, or those who had assistants around them who could write, also wrote in support. Those who didn't know how to write directly forwarded Liang Fatsai's article. It was hard to say if it was in other industries, but at least Chen Guang's results in darts could be won back with the support of everyone in the industry. But there weren't many people who paid attention to the darts industry outside Lida Building. They only knew that the despicable, shameless, vulgar, and hypocritical guy, Chen Guang, had finally started his PR. He wanted to use his money and his authority to take away people's right to speak on the internet. They were even more furious without needing to be incited. Is it really true that the rich have the final say in this world? Could it be that we, the peasants and losers, can't have a little bit of the right to speak our minds? Shouldn't a scumbag like Chen Guang be boycotted? He actually wants to use such a despicable and vicious control of the internet to block our right to speak. He wants to use his power to hide his filth and ugliness. How shameless, how hateful. These self-proclaimed righteous people, under the incitement of Zhuo Wei and his 8 Weekly, thought that what they saw was the truth. They thought that what they saw was the truth. They were agitated, or rather, their hatred of the rich exploded. They had no idea that they were just puppets being used and manipulated by Zhuo Wei. In short, the crowd was in a complete uproar. The angry crowd began to attack the defense line built by Lida's security guards again and again. Justice drove them to lose their rationality, and the mentality that the law does not punish the masses made them even more unscrupulous. Lida's security team retreated step by step. Seeing that the defense line was about to be broken, Chen Guang, who was hiding at the elevator entrance, felt a headache coming on. At this moment, a loud shout came from behind the crowd. "You bunch of lunatics! All of you stop!" The crowd turned around, but they were dazzled by the large group of shiny bald heads in front of them under the sun. Damn, it was so dazzling. What was going on? Why were there so many bald heads? Chen Guang quietly poked his head out and saw the large group of bald heads behind the glass in Lida's lobby. When he heard the somewhat familiar shout, he was stunned. What? Anti-Light Alliance. Brother, don't cause trouble. You're the one who's against me. Did you open the door the wrong way today? It looks like you're here to take care of me. What kind of scene would it be to have 200 shiny bald heads standing neatly by the roadside? It could raise the brightness of the entire street to a whole new level. It could also make the beautiful women passing by dumbfounded and knock their heads against the electric poles. It could also make people feel intimidated by the aura formed by the combination of these terrifying bald heads. Chen Guang's heart was filled with questions. He would never have thought that at this moment, when he was almost deserted by everyone, the person who stood up to support him was actually the bald president. He rubbed his head. "Good brother, we're on the same side." After the loud shout, the bald-headed president, who was being stared at by many people, felt very conflicted. Who the hell wanted to help you? I also want to join this group of people, okay? But in our anti-light alliance, there are too many loyal fans of you. You traitor, okay? As the president, I've been kidnapped by morality. I really want to cry. I feel so wronged. Chapter 620. Boss, it's been hard on you. We know you're upset, but we really want to support Brother All-Rounder. You're our boss. Even if we have different ideologies, you'll always be our boss. We can't do without you, and we can't do without you. Boss, for your sacrifice, we'll make it up to you with barbecue tonight, okay? Everyone's looking at you. Say a few words. At this moment, the representative of Chun Guang's diehard fans in the Anti-Light Alliance, the vice president, came up to the president and whispered. The bald president took a deep breath and thought to himself, "My faith, I've betrayed you again. You'll forgive me, right?" Then he opened his mouth and shouted the slogan that he had prepared in his mind. Don't believe in rumors. Don't spread rumors. Don't be blind. Don't be impulsive. Follow stars rationally. Resist rationally. Every one of us has the ability to think independently. Don't be misled by 8 weekly in Zhuowei. This is a conspiracy. A long time ago, when Chun Guang first appeared in the Amateur Darts Championship, I was there to watch every single one of his matches. I saw with my own eyes how he was questioned, how he was asked to check his equipment, and how he climbed to the top step by step. I also watched his lousy Dota competition for 3 days, and now I'm already at 5,000 points. I swear on my honor that he's not lying, although I'm also a staunch anti-fan of Chun Guang. Before he could finish his sentence, the vice president, who was a die-hard fan of Chun Guang, raised his arms and shouted, "Don't believe in rumors." The brothers behind him followed suit and shouted, "Don't believe in rumors." The vice president shouted again, "Don't spread rumors. Don't spread rumors." The vice president continued shouting, "Judge rationally. Judge rationally." Finally, the vice president raised his hands high. "Think independently. Think independently." The 200 bald heads were exceptionally dazzling under the sun. Everyone shouted in unison, and their imposing manner completely overwhelmed the 100 or so demonstrators who blocked the door. The bald-headed president basked in the warm sunlight. His heart felt exceptionally miserable. He hated the unlucky vice president to the core. Can't you just let me finish my last sentence? I have to clarify my identity. I don't want people to think that I'm a fan of Chun Guang. I'm a hater of Chun Guang. Just as he was thinking about this, a reporter who had rushed over fearlessly shoved a microphone in front of him. "May I ask if you are the famous president of the Anti-Large Alliance? When I first heard the name of your fan group, I thought you were boycotting Chun Guang, but we found out that all of you have shaved your heads like Chun Guang. So you are Chun Guang's diehard fans?" The bald president was about to speak when the vice president jumped out again. He put his arm around the bald president's shoulder and said to the reporter with a smile, "That's right. Our Anti-Light Alliance is the earliest fan club of Brother Almighty. We're the most loyal fan club. Our slogan for joining the club is, no membership fee. I don't accept girls. He had to be bald. Freedom of thought." The bald president turned around and glared at the vice president angrily. "Are you a F** king clown sent by a monkey? Since when did Chun Guang's nonsense become our motto? Thank you for the interview, but we have to go and maintain order now." "All right. Thank you for accepting the interview, President." The reporter took the microphone and ran away in satisfaction. The bald president, "What the F***ck? Don't you F***king leave? Also, I didn't even say a word. What do you mean by thanking me for accepting the interview? You're too casual, aren't you?" But on the other side, his vice president had already surrounded the crowd with a group of bald young men. The 100 or so people who were originally in high spirits were suddenly unable to muster up the courage to resist when faced with the 200 or so bald men. Are you kidding me? People with shaved heads are already very valiant. Are you trying to defy the heavens with 200 bald men? If you have something to say, Talk it out. Don't use your bald heads to blind our eyes. Damn, these people look so valiant. I don't think we can blow them away. What should we do? Try? You try first? Why don't you go first? Damn, what if we get caught and beaten up? You have a lot of meat, so you're more resistant to grass. F*CKU. Didn't you train in Shaolin? You know iron skin. The two boys from 8 weakly muttered in the crowd for a long time, but none of them dared to stand out. Although the members of the Anti-Light Alliance weren't all burly men, the ones who rushed at the front were not small. Coupled with their big bald heads, they gave off a ferocious feeling. They easily separated the crowd and stood in front of the lead to security that had already collapsed, forming a new human wall. Before coming here, they had clearly discussed their strategy. They couldn't just casually make a move and bring shame to their idle brother all-rounder. They would first use their imposing manner to suppress the other party, then help brother all-rounder block the entrance, preventing these troublemakers from entering and causing trouble. Hello, everyone. This is the direct report from the Chuan News. I am your on-site reporter, Chen Wei. As everyone can see, Changguang's hardcore fan group, the Anti-Light Alliance, is very courteous. They didn't have any conflict with the protesters and took the initiative to negotiate with the other party before assuming the responsibility of building security and maintaining order at the scene. Here, 5 Capital Entertainment Weekly reminds everyone that regardless of whether you're chasing after a star or boycotting, please maintain basic civic qualities. Don't break the law, don't cause trouble, respect the law, and be a good citizen with public morality. The Anti-Light Alliance obviously has the advantage in numbers, but they still maintain the greatest restraint and set a good example for everyone. At the back of the crowd, a rather young and beautiful female reporter was talking to the cameraman who was following them. The accusations and doubts about Chun Guang on the internet are still in the stage of speculation. Before the dust settles, please remain rational and don't be blindly incited by others. Or, even if what they say is true, please don't do anything illegal. Just like the slogan of the Anti-Light Alliance says, we must have the ability to think independently. The female reporter, Chen Wei, made a gesture. The cameraman nodded and put away the camera. The live broadcast over there ended. Director, how was what I said just now? Chen Wei called the director to ask for credit. Not bad, but there is one sentence that I have an opinion on. What do you mean by even if what they say is true? This incident with Qin Guang is obviously caused by Zhuo Wei. It's all nonsense. Is that so? Chen Wei shrunk her neck and was scolded by the director. But it's okay, it's not a big deal, and the effect is okay. Zhuo Wei dares to slander the person that our station wants to promote? Does he think our Dechuan satellite TV is doing nothing? Little Ding, have you sorted out the support from the darts players in the afternoon? Once you're done, send it out. Send it all out. Pick out all the most useful words. The director hung up the phone. His eyes were burning. Dechuan Satellite TV got a big bargain in the Throne Challenge and owed Chun Guang a favor. This incident happened within 2 days, and Dechuan Satellite TV finally couldn't sit still. Even if Chun Guang didn't ask them for help, they decided to take the initiative to support Chun Guang and maintain their friendship. The counterattack from Chun Guang's side had officially begun. Unlike Zhuo Wei, who had to spend money to hire people to support the Water Army, Chun Guang's counterattack was selling a favor, and it was someone else doing it on their own initiative. Chun Guang and Tang Ying were still waiting for the security team to come back. The cleaning team upstairs, who had been busy with the renovation and cleaning work on their first day of work, came down first. The leader of the team was Chu Hanji, the nephew of Secretary Chu of the central government. Among this group of people, Chu Hanji had a strong background. Chu Hanji had a cheerful personality and was good at making connections. His dart skills were relatively good. If he wanted to be the section chief, the others didn't have much of an opinion. Brother Chu, are we really not going to change our clothes? Are we going back in this cleaning uniform? Believe me, based on my understanding of the chief instructor, he and Mr. Tang must not have gone far. There's a high chance that they're hiding somewhere, watching us employees who get off work for the first time. When he sees our dirty clothes, he must be secretly giving us a thumbs up. Chu Hanji said solemnly. I don't believe it. How can the chief instructor be so bored? Hey, you still don't believe it? I bet 50 cents that the chief instructor is hiding in this stairwell. Do you see the crack in the door? Huh? Why are there so many people at the door? Cut the crap. Did you see the crack in the door? Yes. The chief instructor is inside. Chu Hanji joked with a smile. Although it was quite sad to become a cleaning team, once he accepted the opportunity to become a sweeping monk, it seemed pretty good. He was also bored out of his mind, so he comforted himself quite happily. You can't be telling the truth, right? Is the chief instructor really that bored? The others were really shocked by Chu Hanji. It's true. Also, did you forget what we said during training? Call him Mr. Chun in the future. Call him that in private. Okay, is Mr. Chun really that bored? What do you know? This isn't bored. This is called professionalism, understand? Didn't Huang Shuren use to crow every day to trick Yang Bailao to get up and work? How can he make money if he's not professional? The labor of cleaning workers is not labor. They still have to be exploited. Chu Hanji lowered his voice and said very carefully. His eyes occasionally glanced at the crack in the door. Chu Hanji's sudden movements really scared the 10 or so cleaners. Everyone started to be suspicious and nervously tidied up their clothes. They were afraid that Chief Chun, who was peeping at them, would think that they were not professional. Seeing that he really scared them, Chu Hanji chuckled. Don't panic. I'll go greet Mr. Chun and show off to him. We'll clean it up super clean. As Chu Hanji spoke, he really leaned towards the stairwell. Not to mention, there was a crack in the wooden door, and they could see outside from the inside. Ha ha ha, you bunch of idiots. How could Mr. Chun be so bored? I was just bluffing, and you really believed it? How can you be so naive? As he spoke, he pulled open the swing door of the stairwell. Without looking inside, he turned around and looked at the cleaning team members behind him. Dang, 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 dang. Look, it's empty. Many of the cleaning team members widened their eyes and looked behind Chu Hanji as if they had seen a ghost. Behind Chu Hanji, Chen Guang's face was dark as he glared at Chu Hanji's back. That's right, he and Tang Ying had been hiding in this position. Chapter 6:21. Chu Hanji did not know he was in trouble. He looked at the young man who was giving him a wink. What are you doing? What are you doing? Is there sand in your eyes? Brother Chu, CEO Chun is... The young man gathered his courage and decided to remind him. Chu Hanji did not believe him. Stop it. Are you trying to scare me? I'm just spouting nonsense. How can CEO Chun be so bored? Hey, why are you all like this? All of you want to scare me after being tricked by me? Let's go. Don't waste time here. Brother Chu, CEO Chun is really here. I don't believe it. Chu Hanji grinned, but he still turned around and saw Chen Guang's black face. Oh my God, CEO Chun, you are really here. I'm making you bored. Chen Guang hit Chu Hanji's head with a pineapple. I'm making you enter the sand. Oh my God, I'm making you waste time. It hurts. I'm making you Huang Shuren. CEO Chun, I'm wrong. I'm making you Yang Bailao. I'm wrong. I'm wrong. Chu Hanji's head was almost hit by Chen Guang. I'm just spouting nonsense. Who would have thought that you are really here? As Su Tao continued to retreat, Chen Guang followed him and subconsciously walked out of the lift. On the other side, some of the protesters who had been completely subdued by the lead to security and the anti-Guang alliance suddenly noticed Chen Guang. Scumbag Chen Guang is out. He's out. Beat him up. Beat him up. Don't be afraid. Charge. They won't dare to do anything to us. A few young men from 8 Weekly finally got their chance. They started to shout at the top of their lungs. The crowd that had just calmed down suddenly exploded again. But someone else was even fiercer and more powerful than them. Chu Hanji finally found a way to divert his attention from Chen Guang's divine flicking technique. Holy shit, they are here to cause trouble. President Chun, don't panic. Let's go take care of them. Before Chen Guang and Tang Ying could say anything, Chu Hanji rushed out. Rather than rushing out, it would be more accurate to call it fleeing in panic. When the other cleaning team members saw this, they also followed Chu Hanji. Tang Ying was a little nervous. What are you doing? What are you doing? She wanted to pull the newly recruited cleaning team members back. There were only a dozen of them here, and there were hundreds of troublemakers outside. whether they could win or not. The situation would become worse. Chen Guang stopped Tang Ying. It's fine. Let them go. Tang Ying stomped her foot angrily. Hey, how can you do that? Chen Guang pressed down on her shoulder. Don't worry. Nothing will happen. Even though Chu Hanji and the others deliberately shouted as if they were crazy when they rushed out, Chen Guang didn't worry about them at all. They were just pretending. In fact, this group of people was calmer than anyone else. Those who were selected to participate in Shun's special training camp were all elites. To be able to stand out in Chen Guang's intensive training, besides having a more fanatical faith, their own military qualities and determination to become better and stronger played a leading role. Even in the whole country, they were the best soldiers. Their shock and surprise at this time was only because of their military qualities, which made them subconsciously think of themselves as the cleaners who shared the company's honor and disgrace when they were on a special mission. Take Chu Hanji, for example. Although he was born with an eccentric personality, it also allowed him to perfectly deceive people when he was on a special agent mission abroad. Chu Hanji and the others might be wearing a funny cleaning uniform, but in fact, judging by the standards of ordinary people, they were real modern, sweeping monks. What's all this fuss about? I heard that you guys are here to cause trouble for Tianguang manager. It's fine that CEO Chan is such a good person, but you guys actually dare to come to our company to cause trouble? Is there any law in this world? Is there any justice? Chu Hanji shouted at the top of his lungs. He put his hands on his waist and swaggered out of the lobby of Lida Building. If he wasn't wearing a cleaner's uniform but a suit and leather shoes, others might even think that he was a big leader. But now, anyway, the bald president and the protesting crowd at the entrance of Lida Building looked at him awkwardly. Bro, can you change it to a different outfit to show off? The feeling you give people now is very much like when we played World of Warcraft in the past, wearing a suit of scrap metal and blocking Ogre's door to plant a flag. Kid, who are you? It's none of your business here. Move. Otherwise, I'll beat you up too. Chen Guang is right there. Everyone charge. The people from 8 Weekly were secretly stirring up trouble again. The bald president of the Anti-Light Alliance was having a headache. If he was really a die-hard fan of Chen Guang, he would most likely be shouting at his brothers to fight to the death. But I'm not. Who can understand the torment in my heart? The vice president beside him gritted his teeth and said, Brothers, hold on. Remember, maintain control, but don't let them pass. Hold on a little longer. I've already called the police. The bald president turned to look at his vice president. The two of them looked at each other. The president could read the vice president's emotions in his eyes. President, I know your pain, but we really can't retreat. Forget it. Since we're already here, we can't let our brothers down. At this moment, Chu Hanji patted his shoulder and said, Brothers, it's been hard on you. Leave the rest to us. On behalf of CEO Chan, I would like to express my gratitude for your help. The bald president cursed in his heart. Who the F***CK wants to help? Also, why does a cleaner like you give off the feeling that Lu Bu is going to fight the 3 armies alone? All of you just stand there obediently. Let me tell you, all of us are the cleaners of Tianguang Agency. Chu Hanji abruptly took a step forward, blocking the path of the protesting crowd that was charging at the very front. What the F***CK are you F***King cleaners for? The more impulsive of the protesting crowd came forward and raised their fists. Chu Hanji grabbed the man's hand and twisted it slightly, using a variant of the twisting technique to make the man turn around in pain. Then, he pushed him back into the crowd. So what if we're cleaners? Are you looking down on cleaners? Have you seen cleaners who can fight as well as us? We're here today to reason with you. I'll say it again. We don't care what you say online, but if you want to cause trouble at our company, you should first ask the cleaners of Tianguang Agency if they agree. Brothers, get your weapons. Of course, they didn't really bring their weapons. Chu Hanji was just casually shouting to increase their momentum. The 10 people from the cleaning department stood at the entrance of Lida Building. Their momentum seemed to surpass that of an army. Chu Hanji still felt that it wasn't enough. He turned to his brother and said, Lend me your phone for a while. Brother Chu, what do you want to do? Don't ask so much. Let's go. The young man uneasily took out his phone. Special Forces elites like him were usually forbidden from using personal phones. It wasn't easy for him to buy a new model after transferring out of the military. It had a metal body and a Qualcomm 820 CPU. It was great. Chu Hanji grabbed the phone and twisted it with both hands. This brand new and beautiful phone was twisted like a fried dough twist. He casually threw the phone on the ground and said in a domineering manner, "See that? Which one of you has a sturdier arm than this phone? Come and try it." "Brother Chu, you're crazy. Why don't you use your own? Mine is a fruit. It's a little expensive. We can't be brothers anymore." No matter what Chu Hanji and this unlucky brother who lost his beloved phone were arguing about, the protesting crowd and the Anti-Light Alliance were all dumbfounded. Although a phone wasn't as sturdy as they thought, to be able to twist it into a fried dough twist so easily, wasn't this person a little too scary? Looking at his cleaning uniform, everyone's mind was just as Chu Hanji expected. This man was a F*King modern sweeping monk, and a bunch of sweeping monks at that. The impassioned crowd suddenly hit an iron plate, and the enthusiasm in their minds instantly cooled down as if it was doused with cold water. It was no joke. Everyone was panicking. At that moment, the protesting crowd felt like they were riding on a tiger's back. They were unwilling to leave just like that. They continued to rush forward, but they felt that their arms weren't as sturdy as the twisted phone on the ground. Chu Hanji stood in the middle of the crowd with his arms crossed. He was full of pride. Gold will shine no matter what position you are in. Even the cleaning uniform can't hide our shocking brilliance. Seems like everything's fine now. This is amazing. Tang Ying, who was hiding beside the elevator, couldn't see the situation in front, but the impulsive crowd gradually calmed down. Although she didn't know what had happened, it was still a good thing. Chen Guang chuckled. "How is it? The cleaning department we chose isn't bad, right?" Tang Ying was puzzled. "It's not easy to find a cleaner who can handle this situation. Why don't we give them a raise?" Chen Guang nodded. "MHM, 50 per person per month. Can you be more stingy? It's hard to start business. Saving is the foundation. Why don't you go and say this to your big mahogany desk that costs hundreds of thousands?" While the two were chatting, the people from the security department finally came back. Although they were not in uniform, security guards naturally had the aura of security guards. Unlike the cleaning department, the security team brought out 1/3 of their military aura and stood uniformly at the door, bringing their own deterrent effect. The protesting crowd was completely dumbfounded. The bald president, who had almost lost his sense of existence, finally found a chance to show off. Looking at these like-minded brothers being propped up against the fire, he couldn't bear it. So, he came to the front and said amiably, "Brothers, let's go. Really, it's not right for you to cause trouble like this. When the police come later, they will really arrest you. Next time, no matter what you want to do, you could just hold up banners and shout slogans. But don't think of rushing in and smashing and robbing. It's really against the law." The bald president gave them a way out, and the spies from 8 Weekly saw that things were not going well, and the protesting crowd started to disperse. Chapter 622. Just then, Chu Hanji spoke again. That, you, and you. Please wait a moment." The 5 people he was pointing at were all 8 Weekly's employees who had been hiding in the crowd. They were indeed the elites of the Special Forces. He was also Secretary Chu's nephew and had done the job of protecting leaders many times. He was especially good at finding suspicious people hidden in the crowd. Although these 5 people from 8 Weekly had been hiding in the crowd and looked very careful, they would whisper to each other from time to time and discuss things furtively. When they were shouting slogans previously, it was also these 5 people who had secretly spoken and led the way. Chu Hanji and the others had already uncovered these 5 people. The crowd stopped again. Chu Hanji said again, "Friends, the others can leave. We really don't want to make things difficult for you, but these 5 people are up to no good." Everyone, think carefully. Did these 5 people shout the loudest when shouting slogans, but when they really rushed forward, they shrunk their necks back? You guys have been used as weapons by others, played for fools. You are from 8 Weekly? The crowd exploded again. The 5 people from 8 Weekly had been exposed, and quickly distanced themselves from them. No, there's no such thing. We don't know Director Zhuo at all. You're already calling him Director Zhuo, but you don't know him? The security guard of Lida Building also spoke up. It's the 5 of them. They've been hiding in the crowd and fanning the flames. Friends, we really don't know what's going on with Director Chun. Do you know that Zhuo Wei from 8 Weekly a few days ago? He's the paparazzi leader who caused the singer's death. He personally brought people to blackmail Director Chun. Director Chun didn't give them any benefits, so they spread the news on the internet. You've all been used. There's such a thing. Of course. Chen Guang had also walked to the door at this time. He waved at the crowd and said, "Everyone, I know you have a problem with me. I'm not very good with people sometimes, but I also have my principles. However, I have my own principles. I don't do things like fishing for fame. Everyone who follows me on Weibo knows this. You guys can watch all my videos from start to finish. If I was faking it, I would have been exposed a long time ago. Why would I wait for Zhuo Wei to slander me?" Swallowing his saliva, Chen Guang continued, "All of you have sharp eyes. Zhuo Wei asked me for 2 million yuan, but I refused. Don't you think it's embarrassing for him to do such a thing? Wasn't he detestable? It doesn't feel good to be used by others, does it? But how many boats do you have? We're fans of Jean Shirwei." "Exactly. Even if everything else is true, you're still a scumbag." Chen Guang waved his hand again. "Please, everyone, use your brains. If I'm really a scumbag, how could Jean Shirwei not know? Would she continue to stay silent? I just called her yesterday. In a few days, I have to go to Beijing to attend Director Deng's movie signing ceremony. At that time, I'll meet Jean Shirwei. You guys would rather believe a paparazzi leader who doesn't care about his reputation for money than the silent Jean Shirwei? It seems like what he said makes sense. It does make sense. Seeing that his bluff worked, Chen Guang struck while the iron was hot. Of course it makes sense. You guys were indeed played by Zhuo Wei. In the time it took for them to chat, the security department and the security team found a lot of specialized camera equipment from the 5 employees of Octagon magazine. Looking at the micro cameras, hidden earphones, and other equipment all over the floor, everyone really believed it this time. You still dare to say you're not from Octagon magazine? What are these? Chen Guang picked up a micro camera from the ground. Did everyone see this? F***CK. It's really from Octagon magazine. We were played by the paparazzi? F***CK. Beat them up. The happiest thing in life was to be the only sober when everyone else was drunk. That was how the protesters who came to cause trouble felt. But all of a sudden, their feeling of being the only sober one was exposed. Not only were they not awake, but they were also played by the paparazzi. How could they not be angry? No matter what, they couldn't come here for nothing. They had to beat someone up to vent their anger. The 5 people from Octagon magazine were in big trouble. Fortunately, they had rich experience in being beaten up. They also knew how to protect themselves when being beaten up by a group of people. They all obediently curled up their bodies to protect their vital parts. After waiting for about another 5 minutes, the police who received the call finally arrived and saved the 5 unlucky people. See? I told you it's fine. You're the only one who worries all day. You should just stay in your hospital and be a doctor. After praising the people from the cleaning department and the security department, and thanking the boss of Lida, Chen Guang personally drove Tang Ying back to the hospital for her night shift. Before getting out of the car, he said this. Fine. You're the best. Whatever you say. But just you wait. Zhuo Wei put another 5 people in prison. The more he loses, the more unsatisfied he will be. He'll come looking for trouble again. Tang Ying felt a headache coming on. At most, we'll just give him some money. Why do you have to fight with this kind of person? People who have nothing to lose are not afraid of those who have shoes. We've started a company now. Fighting with a mangy dog like him is very disadvantageous. You don't understand. This is a principle. Like hell, I don't understand. Then tell me, what will you do if he continues to make things difficult for you tonight? In fact, Chen Guangjin was also having a headache. Zhuo Wei had really become a dogskin plaster. With him jumping around like this, Chen Guangjin was also annoyed. However, as the old saying went, in the end, Chen Guangjin was still a reasonable person. when he met a scoundrel who kept begging and begging, and he was teacher's uncle. Chen Guangzhen could not be ruthless. It was impossible to say that he wasn't annoyed, but he couldn't do anything to him for the time being. Other than that, in a sense, Zhuwei also had the support of the elders above him, which made him even more unscrupulous. Although he didn't know what Enchanting had done today, controlling public opinion was actually like drinking poison to quench his thirst. It might look refreshing for a while, but doing so could easily trigger the rebellious mentality of the netizens. Originally, the neutral party might have thought that it was okay, but since you were controlling public opinion, even if it was nothing, it would become a problem. Tang Ying didn't know that Chen Guang had so many worries in his heart. She only thought that he really didn't take Zhuo Wei's scandal seriously and thought that he was treating Tianguang brokerage as a joke. If the company really messed up, it would be her Tang family's money that would be lost. Of course, from a friend's point of view, Tang Ying really hoped that Chen Guang could make a career out of it. Now that Tang Ying had become the vice president of Tianguang brokerage, it would be embarrassing for her to boast in front of her subordinates. No matter how she looked at it, Tang Ying had a reason to be anxious about this matter. Don't always have such an indifferent attitude, kid. You're making me anxious to death. Tell me, what are you planning to do? Chen Guang spread out his hands. I don't know. I'll just deal with it when it comes. No, I don't care. You have to end this mess within 3 days. Otherwise, I'll look for Zhuo Wei myself and give him some money. Don't do that. Won't I feel bad? But it's even worse now. Let's make another bet. If you can do it within 3 days and change the topic on the internet, I'll use my mouth for you. Chen Guang stared at her. What? He thought he had heard wrongly. Tang Ying was furious. Anyway, it's not the first time I've used my hands for you. I see that your face is flushed recently and you're burning up. There's nothing going on between you and Jean Shuriwa. I know you have a lot of problems in that area. Your sister Ying has taken over from your sister Tong, so I'll give you some heat. I've already used my hands for you a few times, but you don't feel anything new. I'll use my mouth for you, all right? Chen Guang's eyes widened as he stared at Tang Ying's fiery red lips. His mind started to wander. This is too scary. I can't resist this kind of temptation, okay? Also, if you can't do it, don't even think about taking advantage of me in the future. You have to accept this bet. Chen Guang nodded. I'm going all out. Within 3 days. The two of them clapped their hands together to seal the vow. Tang Ying got out of the car and slowly calmed down from her anxious state. She was stunned for a moment before she slapped her forehead and muttered to herself, Am I stupid? Have I gone mad? Why would I make such a bet with him? She had been too anxious just now, and her brain had short-circuited. That was why she had said such shameless words. Now that the wind blew, she felt a chill in her head and sobered up. She recalled the scene of that guy's D*CK in her mouth. Goosebumps rose all over her body. She regretted it so much that her intestines turned green. Tang Ying, how can you be so shameless? Tang Ying, have you gone crazy for being a 25 to 26-year-old virgin? She pounded her chest and stomped her feet in frustration. She couldn't go back on her words now. She, Tang Ying, was a person of her word. As she walked up the stairs, she slapped her head in regret. Forget it. If Chen Guang didn't want to fork out the money, 3 days wouldn't be enough to make Zhuo Wei and his 8 weekly magazines give in, right? If Zhuo Wei really wanted to give in so easily, he would have done so long ago after he had captured so many people. So this unlucky bet let it go with the wind. Chen Guang wouldn't be able to do it anyway. Tang Ying comforted herself. On the other hand, Chen Guang was riding on a high horse. He had been annoyed by Zhuo Wei's matter for the past few days and was on the verge of exploding. However, he didn't expect it to be the eunuch who was anxious. No, it was the concubine who was anxious. Sister Tang Ying was even more anxious than I was. She was actually so anxious that she came up with such an explosive bet. As soon as he imagined the scene, the haze in Chen Guang's heart was swept away. The grievances he had suffered these past few days were all worth it. Next, the scumbag Zhuo Wei would have to wait and see how powerful the old man was. As Chen Guang drove, he whistled in the direction of his house. Halfway there, his phone suddenly rang. When he took a look at it, it was an unknown number. Is this Zhuo Wei? Chen Guang asked as soon as the call went through. Mr. Chun, you're quite understanding. How have you been? Have you been happy the past 2 days? Zhuo Wei asked in a strange tone. It's been all right. I'm indebted to you for taking care of me, fatty. I'll definitely repay you in the future. Chen Guang's tone was even more strange. Mr. Chun, this is just the beginning. I've just written a long article praising you and sent it out. You have to read it later and give me some comments. I'll comment on your whole family. I'll give you 10 more seconds. I'm hanging up. Chapter 6:23. 20 million. I'll stop and apologize to you publicly. Not only will I never slander you again, but I'll also report to you if I accidentally take any negative news about you. In addition, with my reputation in the entertainment circle, as long as you and I reach an agreement, I'll help you find out who wants to deal with you in the future. What do you think? Or if anyone else in the entertainment circle wants to go against you, I'll help you. This is called strategic cooperation. Zhuo Wei finally opened his mouth and offered a sky-high price, but it sounded good. Strategic cooperation with China's top paparazzi. Chen Guang laughed. Take a piss and look at yourself. 20 million? I won't even give you 20. I'm a serious businessman, and I'm also a righteous artist. I'm not afraid of you at all. How can a human cooperate with a dog? You know what's good for you. This is the last chance I'm giving you. Chen Guang couldn't be bothered with this retard. He hung up the phone and didn't rush to drive. Instead, he went online to check the situation. Sure enough, Enchanting's control of public opinion seemed easy for a while. But after brewing for the entire afternoon, Zhuo Wei's water army became more covert and cunning. They were also able to incite the netizens to unite against a common enemy. Although the Darts World's collective support and official media like Dachuan Satellite TV supported Chen Guang, and the hundreds of people who were deceived under the Lida building today also went back and told the truth on the internet, clarifying Chen Guang's name. However, the public opinion on the internet did not change for the better and was still deteriorating. Just now, Zhuo Wei had carefully produced an article accusing Chen Guang of allowing the security guards to hurt passersby. The passersby in his photo were the 5 employees of 8 News Weekly who were taken away in the afternoon. Of course, these people were indeed bruised. Although it wasn't Chen Guang's people who did it, they were all injured by the angry crowd who found out they were being used. But Zhuo Wei had framed them and then turned into a messenger of justice. He threatened to seek justice for these innocent victims and threatened to sue the law. Although anyone with a discerning eye would know that Zhuo Wei was just bluffing and trying to fabricate something out of nothing, there were still many blind people in this world. Chen Guang would never be able to wait for Zhuo Wei's so-called court summons in his lifetime, but the denunciations against him on the internet were getting louder and louder. Ordinary people didn't know the truth, so they just wanted to join in the fun. It didn't matter if Weibo was controlled. There were still Tieba and forums, right? Aren't there QQ and WeChat groups? Otherwise, he would post a diary in his QQ space or post a chicken soup article in his WeChat moments. It doesn't matter if the information app is under control. You can control me to publish news, but you can't control my fake reviewers to cause trouble in the comment section. For a moment, it really gave Zhuo Wei the feeling of being condemned by thousands of people. When she got home, Enchanting knew that she had not only failed to help, but also made a mess of things, so she hid in her room. When she heard the door open, she poked her head out to take a look and then said, "The director is back? It's been hard on you, director. Rest early." Initially, Chen Guang did not have the intention to teach her a lesson, but when he saw how guilty she looked, he felt playful and purposely pulled a long face as he knocked on the door. "Come out. I have something to ask you." After a few seconds, Enchanting, wearing a cute, pleasant goat pajamas, came out of the door dejectedly. She didn't dare to look up at Chen Guang, so she lowered her head and looked at her toes. "I'm sorry, I got into trouble. I thought it was easy." Chen Guang still had a straight face. "Dude, how can you be so naive? Do you really think that public opinion is so easy to control? You think you can solve it with a bit of power and a bit of banning? Don't look down on me. I want to kill him, but you won't let me. What do you want me to do? Now no one can say that your darts are fake, right? It's still useful. Pfft. What's the use of darts if no one says it's useful? My reputation is ruined. Won't the league that you organized under my name still have to kneel down? Enchanting's head drooped lower and lower. I was wrong. I apologize. If an apology is useful, why do we need the police? Enchanting raised her head and looked at Chen Guang with tears welling up in her eyes. Then what are you going to do? You can just punish me. I'll accept it. Chen Guang still looked angry. He walked back and pointed to the sofa. Come here. Enchanting followed him. Lie down, Chen Guang said again. Enchanting started to panic. What are you going to do? I'm still a child. Chen Guang patted her head. Didn't you say that you are already an adult? Now that I'm going to beat you up, you're a child? What are you thinking? I'm just going to spank you. Enchanting heaved a sigh of relief. It's okay. It's just a spanking. Wait a minute. Spanking doesn't sound right. But regardless of what she was thinking in her heart, she was already lying on the armrest of the sofa. She raised her butt and looked at Chen Guang with her eyes brimming with tears. Be gentler. I'll hit you 3 times. Don't blame me for being ruthless. I'm doing this to help you remember. I'm doing this for your own good. Chen Guang said shamelessly. Okay, I know I'm wrong. Thank you, Brother Chen Guang. Thank you, Chief. Enchanting actually believed him. Pa! Phew! The little lowly let out a moan that sounded like a cry of pain. Pa! Squeak! Little Lowly's voice became louder. The 3rd time, there was no sound. Little Lowly was nervous for a long time and finally realized something was wrong. Didn't you say you want to spank me? Spank me. Seeing that the first 2 times hurt you, I felt bad for you. So, the 3rd time is especially gentle. Oh, is that so? You're such a good person. Thank you, Brother Chen Guang. You're welcome. It's what I should do. After waiting for about 2 or 3 minutes, Enchanting finally realized that she had been touched by this guy for 2 minutes. Leaping up from the couch, she raised her leg to kick Chen Guang's head. Chen Guang, who was prepared, shrank his neck, turned around, and ran. He rushed into the bedroom and locked the door. It's getting late. Sleep early. Come out. Chief orders you to go back to sleep. Enchanting stomped her feet in anger. Her master's inculcation was still ringing in her ears. She kept repeating in her heart, listen to the command, respect the leader, and don't be willful. But I can't respect this chief at all. Little Enchanting, listen to me. I was wrong, okay? Go back to sleep. Tomorrow we have to do something big. What big thing? Counterattack. Really? Do you have any ideas? Enchanting's attention was diverted. Don't panic. I have my own plan. You'll know tomorrow. Enchanting believed his words and finally settled down and went back to the bedroom. Chen Guang pressed his back against the door. When he heard the sound of Enchanting closing the door, he heaved a sigh of relief. Provoking the little tigress was really poisonous. He knew that the risk was high, but the temptation was also great. As for the so-called mountain man's plan, don't fool around. That was just nonsense to fool Enchanting. Don't take it seriously. Of course, sometimes there was retribution for asking for trouble. Just now, it was fun to take advantage of Enchanting, but when he returned to the room, he still had a silver spear on his head. He didn't dare to sleep on his stomach. There was still a fire in his heart that he couldn't calm down. This was not enjoyment, but suffering. He was quick-witted. He took out his phone, opened WeChat, and clicked on Jiang Ye's profile picture. Recently, she and Jean Shuriwes seemed to be very busy and didn't send new goods to Chen Guang. With the mentality of giving it a try, Chen Guang sent her 3 words, "Are you asleep?" 10 seconds later, Jiang Ye replied, "Not yet. I'm in a bathtub." At this moment, Chen Guang felt a little disappointed in his heart. Usually, when a goddess told a loser that she was going to take a bath, it was most likely to be an excuse to get out of the situation and not want to talk to her anymore. Jiang Ye's words probably meant something, but 5 seconds later, he realized that he was wrong. Jiang Ye's words were not simple words. There were 2 main points. First, she was in the bathtub. Second, she was in the bathtub. Therefore, she definitely didn't mean that she didn't want to talk to Chen Guang anymore. She was simply using such a detailed description of herself to tease Chen Guang. In any case, she had already sent Chen Guang her dirty secrets countless times, and she had managed to get hold of his weakness in Nua's toilet. Therefore, Jiang Yage, who was lying in the bathtub, rolled her eyes and came up with a bad idea. Now, turn on a video call. She felt that she was speaking like a queen. Chen Guang was stunned. What? I said, turn on the video call. Jiang Yage seemed to be unable to wait any longer and took the initiative to start the video call. Chen Guang was at a loss. He clearly wanted to take advantage of her. Why did it seem like she had turned the tables on him? Although he was letting his imagination run wild, his hands didn't slow down. He quickly accepted the video call. After a short loading, the image of Jiang Yage lying in the bathtub appeared on the phone. The hazy white mist slightly blocked the camera, and Chen Guang could only see a blurry figure. But after a while, the focal length matched, and Jiang Yage's figure became clear. Her long, wet hair was draped over her head, and there were a few water droplets on her face. Her eyebrows were like green grass in winter with dew on them. It made her look more charming and less lively than usual. The Jiang Yage in the bathtub in the camera was not the usual Jiang Yage. It was the first time she had a direct video call with Chen Guang. Coupled with her special situation, Jiang Yage's face was slightly red. She looked a little shy. However, she seemed to have adjusted the camera a little higher. Even when Chen Guang looked at the bottom, he could only see two hemispheres. Chen Guang's eyes were nearly blinded by the water droplets on her fair skin that was tinged with a pink hue. You idiot. You still have the mood to take advantage of me? I've been watching you online for the past 2 days, and I'm about to explode. Guang, your career as an artist has had a bad start. Do you want me to give you some pointers as a senior? In the camera, Jiang Yage was tickled by Chen Guang's anxious look. She covered her mouth and giggled. Tell me what ideas you have. Hearing her talk about business, Chen Guang came back to his senses. Chapter 624. Hurry up and bankrupt your lousy company. Come directly to Beijing and join my and Sister Shiyue's company. I guarantee that we will package you up properly. Really, if I knew that you wanted to work in the entertainment industry, you should have told me and Sister Shiyue. There is no need for you to be outside Beijing. Actually, Jiang Yage knew a little about the inside story of Chen Guang's company, but she was not very happy about this situation. Today, she simply said what was in her heart, and at this time, she was also pretending to be confused with Chen Guang. How could Chen Guang agree to her request? Don't look at how his company was in a precarious state, and his image as an internet celebrity was on the verge of collapsing. However, he hadn't even spent a tenth of the 130 million yen that Tang Xiaokai threw at him. So how could he leave now? You want me to quit before I finish spending the money? I don't feel guilty. Aren't you trying to dig out the flesh from my heart? No matter what, you have to spend enough before you leave. Besides, the old man was already said to be living off a woman. If I enter the company of the two of you, how can I still raise my head in the future? Most importantly, his main task now was to attract attention and buy time and space for the old men in Beijing to play tricks. If he went to Beijing to enter the company of his left and right hands, wouldn't that be dragging them down? Wouldn't he be beaten to death by the hot-tempered old man Jiang? Don't hesitate. Come to my warm embrace. As Jiang Yage spoke, she sat up slightly and opened her arms to the camera to bare her chest. Now, everything that should and shouldn't be seen was all out. Chen Guang's eyes instantly widened. He gritted his teeth and said, "No. Is my chest not warm enough? No, it's because my life dream has not been realized." TSK. Jiang Yage kind of wanted to threaten him with the fact that he was pretending to be Chen Yu, but after thinking about it, he gave up. Although it was a good thing to use against him, he would be disgusted if he pestered him too much. People always grow up. Ever since she got to know Chen Guang, Jiang Yage often reflected on her previous actions. In the past, Chen Guang was afraid of her. No matter how naive she was, she could slowly understand the reason behind it. Forget it. Let's not talk about this anymore. You can do whatever you want. Anyway, you must be careful. Jiang Yage added. Chen Guang rubbed his nose. He couldn't take it anymore. This girl was so unreserved. She was still facing the camera. Wasn't it too much to stick out her chest and raise her head? Don't worry, Nothing will happen to me. Are you sleeping alone now? Jiang Yage pulled her thoughts back to the bad idea that she had thought of this morning. Chun Guang grunted. Of course. Can there be anyone else here? You promised me before that no matter what I say, you will agree, right? Otherwise, I will have to tell you that you are pretending to be Chun Yu. All right, just say what you want to say. A man can't go back on his words. As long as it's not against the law, no, against my life principles, then it's all right. Chun Guang's mouth answered intermittently, but in fact his eyes were completely fixed on the phone screen. In the camera, Jiang Yage had completely sat up straight. Usually, Jiang Yage didn't look tall and even gave people a delicate and cute feeling. But only Chun Guang knew that this girl's chest was more voluptuous than he imagined. Since you are obedient, then it's all right. Then, I want you in the camera to face me, what? Rup. Jiang Yage smiled wickedly. Her seemingly evil request was already within Chun Guang's expectations. Master Guang was very calm. Do you think you are unpredictable? But in fact, I have already seen through your behavior. You think you are threatening me, but in fact, I am taking advantage of you. Also, you have to point the camera at yourself. You know exactly where to point. What? Chun Guang was just showing off when Jiang Yage raised her next request. This time, he was dumbfounded. She was too unconventional. Of course, otherwise, if you always look at me and I can't see you, I will be at a disadvantage. No, I have to look at you today, too. Hurry and change to the rear camera. Be more conscious. Don't force me to use my ultimate move. Jiang Yage's smile became more and more sinister. Must it be like this? Of course, when you saved me at the painting lake in the 5 capital, I was very curious. You don't know how long I have been thinking about it. As Jiang Yage spoke, she stood up from the bathroom and used a towel to dry her hands. Then, she picked up her phone and kept putting it down. My dear Guang, be more conscious. Look at how brave I am. About 20 minutes later, the two people who were thousands of miles apart, one was paralyzed on the bed and the other was paralyzed in the bathtub. Generally speaking, they were in a similar state, panting heavily and their faces flushed. I will disconnect first. If I stay in the bathroom for too long, Sister Shuriwei will be suspicious. On the other side, Jiang Yage said softly and kissed the camera. Young man, you did well today. If you are obedient next time, there will be more benefits. See you at Big Beard's signing ceremony in a few days. Then, she ended the WeChat video call. Chun Guang used a tissue to clean up the mess while silently looking at the phone screen. He was satisfied, but felt that he was sinking deeper and deeper. Forget it. As the saying goes, the boat will cross the bridge when it comes to it. People can't be suffocated to death. Let's take one step at a time. As the owner of the Holy Grail, I can't treat myself like a saint and torture myself. No ordinary person can resist Jiang Yage. In fact, sometimes the netizens were right. Chun Guang felt that he already had Zhuo Jingxi, but he still couldn't resist the temptation of Jiang Yage. From time to time, he would also be distracted by Lu Fei. Today, he was provoked by Tang Ying's bet. There was still Sister Wu Tong in Beijing. On the other hand, although Wen refused to admit it, Chun Guang subconsciously felt that she was lying. The relationship between the two was definitely not simple. Sometimes, thinking about these happy troubles gave him a headache. But he really couldn't bear to do it. Many things had developed out of his control. Perhaps, from the beginning to the end, the only person who could make him feel at ease was Sun Xiaoxuan, who is now in the United States. But thinking about it from another point of view, was it really fair to her to always make her pay in love, but never give her any response? Chun Guang couldn't find an answer to this question. He could only think silently that people would always change. Perhaps time would be able to give these things an answer. As for now, he would take one step at a time. The next day, Chun Guang woke up early. He first went online to check the news. The situation was not any better than the day before, and the netizens were still scolding him. Because of Enchanting's actions yesterday, Weibo and other major media outlets with official background articles were silent. But it couldn't stop the enthusiasm of the netizens. Yesterday, after Zhuo Wei tried to negotiate with Chun Guang for the second time and was cut off, he seemed to have increased the number of internet water army. With more ghostwriters, more netizens started to criticize Chen Guang on the internet, including the hospitalized employees and the investment in the online advertising campaign. This time, Zhuo Wei had put in almost all his money. In order to force Chen Guang to submit, he had spent at least 7 figures. He couldn't stop here. Now that Chen Guang was in a difficult situation, Zhuo Wei couldn't back down. If Zhuo Wei gave up just like that, not only would all the investment go to waste, but his reputation in the industry would also be completely gone. I'll go downstairs to buy breakfast. After waiting for a while, Enchanting also woke up. She seemed to be in a good mood as she skipped downstairs. When she came up, her face was dark. That Zhuo guy sent people again. This time, they were very careful and kept hiding in the car. When I realized something was wrong, they drove away. Again, they really didn't want to give up. Just as he was about to drive to the office, Chen Guang received a call from Tang Ying. She said that she kept feeling that someone was spying on her at the hospital. When Chen Guang arrived at the company, he received a call from Fan Lingshan. Just like what Tang Ying had said, someone had also gone to her school. Chen Guang was stunned. He took out his phone and called the unknown number from yesterday. On the other end, Zhuo Wei sounded very proud. "Mr. Chen, how was it? Did the gift I prepared for you today meet your standards?" Of course, Zhuo Wei was proud. After a few days of effort, he had more or less figured out Chen Guang's main social connections. Other than some that he couldn't find, or his family members who were currently abroad, Zhuo Jingxi, Sun Xiaoxuan, or Jin Shuriyue and Jiang Yage, who didn't dare to follow him, everyone else, including Tang Ying, Fan Lingshan, and even Chen Guang's cousin, Feng Yong, didn't escape. Everyone who was close to Chen Guang, he had sent people from Octagon Weekly to follow them. Keeping an eye on these people might not be able to dig out any big news, but Zhuo Wei felt that it could give Chen Guang the illusion that his attacks were overwhelming. For the sake of this big project, Zhuo Wei had invested almost everyone from Octagon Weekly. "I'm quite satisfied," Chen Guang snorted coldly. Now, that things had come to this, he had learned a lot. 30 million. Our strategic cooperation has increased again. I'm sure you know that I'm using the entire Octagon Weekly to play with you. Brother, that's not how you do business. Harmony brings wealth, right? Go play with your balls. Chen Guang hung up on him again. Enchanting, who was next to him, blinked and looked at him. "Is this your mountain man has a brilliant plan?" Chen Guang snorted through his nose. "Of course it's not over. Help me call everyone from a security department and cleaning department over. Oh, right, call the people from the cafeteria department over too. Are you going to make a move?" Enchanting asked. Chen Guang grunted. "Since I've been called a violent maniac on the internet, I might as well be even more violent. I want to see how many people from Octagon Weekly will play with me. Before, he was hiding things from me, so it was inconvenient for me to find people. Now that they've all come out, it's time for me to fight back." After Enchanting left, Chen Guang called Zhuo Jingxi again. Looking at the time, it should be 11 or 12 o'clock in the evening in the United States. Zhuo Jingxi was still awake. Before Chen Guang could say anything, Zhuo Jingxi said angrily, "I just saw on the internet. Third uncle is really too much. How would he say that about you?" It seemed that only she knew about this. Chapter 625. Chen Guang, listen to me. I've hated third uncle since I was young. He's the one who instilled this idea into my parents all day long, saying that I'm pretty and that I must marry a rich man. That's not all. You don't know, but when I was in high school, he even wanted to pull me into the entertainment industry. At that time, he dragged me to some boss's table, and I was so scared that I almost called the police. From then on, I didn't want to see him. Even when he came to my house, I avoided him. Zhuo Jingxi was full of bitterness when she mentioned her uncle. Chen Guang knew that there was such a past, and he was speechless. He would even sell out his own niece. That was really a living beast in human form. Fortunately, my teacher Zhuo has principles and doesn't bend over for 5 buckets of rice. Otherwise, there would be a big grudge. Those reports about me, and you must have been told by my parents. This is too much. I have to call my parents and tell them. Chen Guang dissuaded her. Don't call your parents. It's okay. I'll make sure he doesn't get into trouble in 2 or 3 days. You can't be. Zhuo Jingxi knew Chun Guang's temper. She was worried that Chun Guang would do something stupid in a moment of impulse. "What are you thinking about? I'm a person of status now. No matter how annoying he is, he's still your relative. I can't take his life." Zhuo Jingxi kissed the phone and said, "But don't be too polite with him. He's like that. Give him an inch and he'll take a mile. But don't be careless. I heard a long time ago that he was very close to a boss in Wujing City with the surname Liu. Don't be rash. Don't worry. The biggest boss in our country is protecting me." "What a boss in Wujing City," Chun Guang said half jokingly and half seriously. After hanging up, he rubbed the phone with his fingers. He was quite satisfied. This call was not in vain. He got a very important message from Zhuo Jingxi. The identity of Zhuo Wei's backer had always been a mystery. Many people had made wild guesses, but Zhuo Wei had hidden it very well. Chun Guang was also troubled by the fact that he couldn't ask Wu Shan for help because he wanted to avoid arousing suspicion. He had been passive the entire time, but now he finally had a target. After waiting for a while, nearly 30 people from the 2 treasures and 1 candy were all present. Chun Guang looked at this group of eager kids and gave the order for everyone to move out. He split them up and sent them to the people who might be targeted by Zhuo Wei. "Let's see how many people there are in your 8 weekly magazine. I'll beat up every one of them." Indeed, Zhuo Wei did not expect Chun Guang's counterattack to come so quickly and so fiercely. Under the attack of the 2 treasures and 1 candy sent by Chun Guang, the 108 King Kong Warriors of 8 weekly magazine, which he was so proud of, only lasted for less than a day before they were completely annihilated. Chun Guang wrote down a list of people who might be targeted and then let these 30 people set off. Except for a few people who might be targeted, such as Tang Ying and Fan Lingshan, at least one of his 3 or 4 friends, including Zhu Jifa and the others in Lalai County, went. He did not let the big guys go empty-handed, and basically all of them got something. Although the people from 8 weekly magazine were usually in groups of 2 or 3 people, and most of the people sent by Chun Guang were Lone Rangers, the strength of the 2 sides was not proportional. When a special warfare elites from the Shun special training camp dealt with ordinary people, it was already modest to fight 1 against 5, and it was considered low-key to fight 10. Although the people from 8 weekly magazine were good at taking photos, the special warfare elites could even find foreign secret agents and spies, let alone the paparazzi. According to Chun Guang's custom-made requirements, all the 8 weekly magazine employees who were found were sent to the hospital. In the words of the people sent by Chun Guang at that time, it was roughly like this: "I have prepared 100,000 yuan for each person's medical expenses. You guys beat up about 100,000 yuan for each person to recover. If Zhuo Wei dares to sue, I dare to accept it. Of course, you'd better do it quietly. Don't leave any evidence." Of course, he said this in a fit of anger. With the methods of Chu Hanji and the other experienced people, there would be no sequelae, but these people would not be able to get out of bed for at least half a month. For the whole day, Chun Guang happily stayed in the office and listened to the good news coming from outside. From time to time, he would walk around the 15th floor of Lida Building, seeing that his new company was becoming more and more presentable under the busy renovation team. He felt comfortable in his heart. In addition, he also gave the first order to everyone in the new company. During this period of time, the most important thing for our company is to all post and reply on the internet. Those who have acquaintances in the media or the internet water army, help me find people. It doesn't matter if it costs money. Those who don't have acquaintances and connections, smash the connections for me with money. Whether or not our company can succeed depends on whether or not my reputation as an internet celebrity will be ruined. Protecting my golden reputation is more important than anything else. Of course, these words were only discussed with the most core department managers by Chun Guang for the time being. The specific implementation was handled by Yu Hong and the other department managers. Around noon, after the people who were knocked unconscious and sent to the hospital reported the news, Zhuo Wei finally realized that something was wrong. But when he tried to get everyone to withdraw, it was already 1 step too late. The others hadn't reported the news yet because they were on the way to the hospital, or they were lying in the hospital and hadn't woken up yet. After another half an hour, after confirming that all the people he sent out had been wiped out, Zhuo Wei called Chen Guang again. This time, it was Chen Guang who spoke first. "Damn, fatty, is my greeting gift okay? You've completely infuriated me, Chen Guang." Zhuo Wei gritted his teeth. "What are you talking about? What happened? Did something happen at home? What did I do to make you angry? I think you've been thinking about money so much that you've gone crazy recently. But you should be buying lottery tickets, not calling me." Chen Guang lied through his teeth. Within a day, all his people were sent to the hospital. This was 100% Chen Guang's doing, but Chen Guang didn't admit it. Zhuo Wei really couldn't do anything to him, because the people Chen Guang sent out were clean and neat. They left without leaving any credit or fame, not even a trace of video evidence. Both of them had a tacit understanding, but Zhuo Wei couldn't do anything. He couldn't say that he sent people to secretly take pictures of Chen Guang's friends and then knock them unconscious. Plus, there was no evidence. "You'll pay the price sooner or later." Leaving such a sentence, Zhuo Wei hung up the phone while gritting his teeth. This time, he won. He hung up first. Suppressing the anger in his heart, Zhuo Wei made another call. After a short conversation, he finally showed an expression of relief and said to himself, "Boss Liu is finally back. I don't believe that Boss Liu can't deal with you. You're just an internet celebrity. Why are you so smug? How dare you say that Jean Shuriyue doesn't say anything because she trusts you? Stop fooling around. You've already infuriated the Jean family. They're not saying anything now. Isn't that the calm before the storm?" Using himself as a measure, Zhuo Wei felt that if he was the elder of the Jean family and saw that his precious granddaughter's boyfriend had an affair, he would definitely explode. The news that came from Yinjing proved this point perfectly. It was rare for Zhuo Wei to get clear information about those people. It wasn't groundless speculation, but a certain old man had clearly stated on a semi-public occasion that he didn't oppose or support young people's affairs. The troubles of young people could only be solved by young people themselves. Zhuo Wei wasn't sure about the matter between Chen Guang and his classmate, but he knew that there was definitely something going on between Chen Guang and Zhuo Jingxi. The reason why Zhuo Wei was so fearless was because he thought that Chen Guang would be afraid of being slandered by him, which would affect his status as the Fuma. Zhuo Wei firmly believed that Chen Guang would give in sooner or later. As long as he could keep his status as the Fuma, how much money couldn't he earn back? It was a simple logic that Chen Guang understood. Zhuo Wei kept telling himself this. Just a little more, and he would be afraid and the matter would be settled. It didn't matter how much he offended him now. After they formed a cooperative relationship, he would know how good he was. There was no such thing as an eternal enemy in the world. The only thing that would never change was benefits. On the other side, Chen Guang ordered the 2 treasures and 1 candy scattered outside to come back. Then he called Wang Qing. Since Zhuo Jingxi had revealed that Zhuo Wei had the backing of a big shot in the underworld, Wang Qing, who was an insider, was the most reliable way to find out who the big shot Liu was. "Big shot Liu? My uncle Liu Chao." Wang Qing, who was on the other side of the phone, used less than 2 seconds to reveal the name of the big shot Liu. Sure enough, there was a reason for this big shot Liu's status in the 5 capitals. "Brother Guang, what business do you have with him?" Wang Qing was a little puzzled. In the past, although Chen Guang knew his identity, he almost never asked him about the 5 capitals underworld. "Is this person very powerful?" Chen Guang asked. On the other side of the phone, Wang Qing's expression became serious. It sounded like the matter was quite troublesome. "Brother Guang, you also know that the times are different from the past. In my dad's line of work, he's more of a businessman. Of course, sometimes, the words of a businessman like me are more useful than an ordinary businessman. We do proper business, even if it's a little bit improper. As for Big Shot Liu, his status in the underworld is similar to my dad's. Currently, in our province's underworld, Big Shot Liu's words carry enormous weight." "What's his main business?" Chen Guang asked. "Mining. He has shares in many quarries, sand quarries, and coal mines in the province. He's also involved in some mining companies that mine metals. He's the chairman of the Energy Association of Great Chuan Province. His assets are about a few billion." In any case, he's a pretty ugly eater. He's much better at making money than my dad. Chen Guang was stunned. The background of the coal boss was so scary. Lu Chao was the boss of the coal boss. Damn, no wonder that scumbag Zhuo Wei was so daring. His background was quite strong. Even though Wang Qing said that Lu Chao was just some chairman of the Great Chuan province, what era was this? It was impossible for Lu Chao to climb to this position without the secret support of someone above him. Forget it. I can't think about this anymore. If I continue to think about it, I'll be going to heaven. Chapter 626. But recently, most of the private coal mines have been shut down. Uncle Lu's life isn't as comfortable as before. I heard that he plans to invest in other energy industries. From what I know, he bought a lot of shares in a gas station investment company. A few days ago, he went overseas to investigate some new energy technology called wind power. He came back from abroad this afternoon and invited some people to his cocktail party to catch up. My dad and I are going as well. Although his business doesn't overlap with my family's, people like us tend to stick together. I see. Chen Guang thought about it and decided to go talk to him. If it really didn't work out, he could only bring out the imperial sword that the elders had given him. He didn't believe that he couldn't suppress Lu Chao. Old man, you can't blame me for leaking the news. You guys are having a good time being a hands-off shopkeeper. Who's going to charge and break through the enemy lines while I'm at the front? I'm almost dragging Zhuo Wei down to the point that even his underwear has fallen off. My head is about to explode. If you guys don't say hello, I'll say hello myself, right? If the news really gets out, don't look for me. Go look for that Lu guy yourself. You know that I've been getting quite a lot of flack on the internet recently, right? Chen Guang asked. What? Who dares to flame you? I'll go beat the hell out of them. He didn't expect Wang Qing to explode. Chen Guang, did you go to the primeval forest these past few days? Right now, with the overwhelming attacks on the internet, the power is not much different from directly appearing on the news broadcast, right? You actually don't know. Wang Qing really couldn't be blamed. After helping Xiao Tsong with the throne challenge, Wang Qing was sent to the deep mountains by his dad to be a supervisor. Today was his day off, and he had to go to Boss Lu's cocktail party. He only came back early in the morning. Ever since he stopped racing and started doing serious work, Wang Qing's life wasn't much better than Lu Fei and Zhong Bai's. He basically worked as a coolie for his family. It was easy to conquer a country, but difficult to defend it. The second and third generation would have to take over the job sooner or later. Of course, the elders couldn't let them be too free. After playing around, it was time to get down to business. Chen Guang and Wang Qing chatted briefly. Only then did Wang Qing realize that Chen Guang was in a terrible situation because of a paparazzi. However, Chen Guang also pointed out that Zhuo Wei's backer was Lu Chao, so things really became troublesome. Brother Guang, don't worry. I'll accept this. Although I didn't know about the relationship between Zhuo Wei and Uncle Lu, I'll ask Uncle Lu directly. If it's true, he'll at least give me some face. I'll put in a good word for you. Sister Lu Fei and Brother Zhong Bai will be there tonight. If my reputation alone isn't enough, then the reputation of a few families combined should be enough. Wang Qing said that he would pick him up at around 5 o'clock in the afternoon to go to Lu Chao's club. So this is your solution? Xian Qin leaned over and asked. Chen Guang leaned back and leaned comfortably on his leather sofa. Who doesn't have a backer these days? Since we don't want his life or money, then we'll compete with him on his backer. So you want to pry open his backer? Xian Qin asked again. Chen Guang snapped his fingers. That's right, but there's no reward. Looking at his smug look, Xian Qin rolled her eyes. She didn't ridicule him. Instead, she was looking forward to it in her heart. She really didn't know what would happen when that damn fatty suddenly found out that the backstage that he was most proud of had been overturned. On the other side, Zhuo Wei wasn't very happy either. Boss Lu actually said that he didn't have time to see him today and that they could talk tomorrow. Zhuo Wei felt wronged. My people are all in a hospital, but I can't even see Boss. I've wasted so many years helping you in the entertainment industry with 8 Weekly. Without my secret help, Would your Lucier culture be able to progress so smoothly? Of course, Zhou Wei couldn't do anything about it. His relationship with Lu Chao couldn't be seen in the light. Many people could guess who his backer was, but he never had the chance to meet Lu Chao in public. Lu Chao had many industries. Other than materials, energy, and mineral resources, Lucier culture was the most famous. This was a top large-scale management company in the country. Its business included film and television investment, film and television production, film and television distribution, variety production, cultural publishing, 3D animation, actor management, and so on. It had many artists under it, including A-list, B-list, and C-list artists. It could be considered one of the leading companies in the country. Lucier culture was established by Lu Chao more than 10 years ago. After many years of development, and with Lu Chao's two-legged strategy, it had developed very smoothly. First, Lucier culture used Lucier culture to build an external framework. Then, Zhou Wei and 8 weekly secretly provided intelligence support in the dark, including some publicity strategies. Zhou Wei was in charge of all of them. For example, in a movie released by Lucier culture, Zhou Wei first smeared its competitors in the market, then used all kinds of insider information to interfere with the other party's publicity strategy. At the same time, he helped Lucier culture's movie from a positive angle on the internet. A terrible movie that could blind people actually sold hundreds of millions of yuan at the box office. Although Lu Chao had now become a well-known private entrepreneur, his style of doing things had always been like this. He judged a hero by the results. So far, he had not gone astray. Usually, the local tyrants of the 5 capitals played their own games, and there were very few large-scale gatherings like wine parties. Only the second and third generations like Zhong Bai, Wang Qing, and Lu Fei liked to get together in private. However, the real leaders of the older generation were too busy with their own things. How could they have time to hold a party? Every time there was a big gathering, there must be a suitable reason. Otherwise, if you invited someone for a small matter, it would not be good for others to come. It would make people unhappy. This time, Lu Chao, who had just returned from abroad, could not wait to create a wine party. The reason was good. On the one hand, it was to receive the big shots from Yanjing. On the other hand, he had also gained a lot from his exploration of new energy abroad. He had reached a strategic cooperation agreement with a foreign company with strong technical strength. It was almost time to start. The purpose of him receiving the big shots from Yanjing was to get involved in the new energy development project of wind power in Sichuan province. The investment and potential profits involved in the whole big project were enough to make anyone tempted. If the huge investment of hundreds of billions of yuan could be successfully put into production and connected to the power grid, the economic benefits that could be generated in a year would definitely be tens of billions. Not only that, even if it was part of the bidding work of some equipment and buildings, the laying of the power grid and construction, and even the operation and maintenance work in a later stage, any small part of it would be a potential profit of billions. Although the whole thing was inevitably led by the people from Yanjing, how could the local snakes in Sichuan province not have a share of the profits? The specific game involved in this was huge, but today's wine party could be regarded as a more formal meeting between everyone. As the president of the Sichuan Energy Association, whether it was for himself or for the local tycoons related to the entire Sichuan province, Lu Chao had the obligation to stand up and take the lead. Although there might only be a few people who could really talk to the big shots in Yanjing, the others who were slightly familiar with the scene could say, "Sir, I met you at XX place before." Once these words were said, although it might not have much impact on the results of the negotiation, the relationship was different. China was a society with a network of relationships. A nod of acquaintance was a relationship, and so was a friendship of life and death. Just a flash of the face was also a relationship. A little relationship was better than nothing. On this side, just as Cheng Guang and Enchanting sat in Wang Qing's car and prepared to go to the club in the suburbs, on the other side, Lu Chao had already ordered people to wait in the club. He was a little sleepy and was wearing a suit as he reclined on the sofa in the lounge to take a nap. It had been less than 3 hours since he flew back from Europe, so he had not recovered from the jet lag at all. But it didn't matter. When the people came and needed him to appear, he only needed to get up and wash his face a little. Then he could stand in the hall in high spirits. Therefore, successful people had their own reasons for success. Although Lu Chao was born in the wilderness and did not read many books, he was able to do well in the business world after the transition. It was not unrelated to his strong spirit and willpower. At about 5:30, his personal secretary, a blonde beauty who could speak fluent Mandarin, entered the lounge. She bent down and whispered in Lu Chao's ear, "Mr. Wang and Mr. Enchanting's car has arrived." Lu Chao suddenly opened his eyes. 2 seconds later, the hazy sleepiness in his eyes was swept away. He quickly got up and went to the bathroom to wipe his face with water. Then, he turned back and asked Sarna to help him fix his hair. A big boss with a majestic gait came back to life. "Old Wang and Old En, you two actually came together. Tell me, what were you two discussing behind my back?" Lu Chao walked straight to the hall of the club and welcomed Wang Guoxiong and Mr. Enchanting. In the hall, many people who were whispering to each other in groups of 3 to 5 also came over to greet them. "Greetings, Mr. Lu. Greetings, Mr. Wang. Greetings, Mr. Enchanting." The 3 of them simply nodded and smiled with the others. They waved and gathered on the sofa in the corner and sat opposite each other. The others didn't care about the arrogance of these 3 people and returned to their original seats. Even if the people sitting here were at least tens of millions of yuan, or people who held power in a certain county or city, in front of these 3 people, their status was not enough. They weren't qualified to sit at the same table as them. This was the status of the 3 of them in the Jianghu. At least in Sichuan province, although Lu Chao, Wang Guoxiong, and Enchanting were not as domineering as a separatist region, they were at least people whose words carried enormous weight in the Jianghu. The reason they could not be separatist was because transportation and information technology were developed now. Local tyrants could not go against the people above them. The people in the Jianghu privately called the 3 heroes of Sichuan. "Go to hell. You're the one who's shameful." Wang Guoxiong laughed and joked with Lu Chao. He then cupped his hands at the middle-aged man in black behind Wang Guoxiong. "I haven't seen you for a few months. Mr. Tai's complexion looks better. Did your martial arts improve again?" The person who was called Mr. Tai also bowed politely to Wang Guoxiong. "Mr. Wang, you're too polite. At my age, I really don't dare to say that my martial arts have improved. If I take good care of my health, I'll be thankful if I can work for a few more years. I'm just afraid that when I'm old, Mr. Lu will see that I'm useless and send me flying with a kick." Lu Chao patted Mr. Tai's hand. "Old Tai, I don't like what you said. I owe you almost 7 or 8 or 9 lives. When you're old, I'll be old too. Us brothers should put down our airs and go sightseeing wherever we like." Seeing how close Lu Chao and Mr. Tai were, Wang Guoxiong and Enchanting were extremely envious. This Tai Xinju was a powerful person. It was said that he came from some Jianghu sect. He could split rocks with his bare hands and was very powerful. All these years, he had followed Lu Chao through wind and rain and saved Lu Chao's life many times. Even when he was besieged by several assassins abroad, he could carry Lu Chao and jump into the sea to escape. He could even swim more than 10 kilometers after being shot several times. The 2 of them didn't have a powerful bodyguard like Mr. Tai. If they really had such a person by their side, anyone would be willing to risk their lives to have a heart-to-heart with him. "By the way, you called all of us here. Is there really a plan for that?" After chatting for a while, Enchanting brought the topic back to the main topic. Lu Chao's expression changed. He first looked at Wang Guoxiong, then at Enchanting. He lowered his voice and said, "According to the information I've gathered, the new energy will be launched within half a year at the latest. Do you know who the representative from above is?" "Who?" "The grandson of the late Old Master Bai, the treasure of the Old Masters. He's now the vice president of Tianjin Energy Group and the 3rd in command, young Master Bai Hua." The other 2's eyes lit up. "Then we can really have a good talk." Chapter 6:27. Although it was impossible for Bai Hua to have the final say in such a big matter, He could represent the will of the upper echelons to a certain extent. His opinion had a high reference value. Since the three heroes of Dechuan wanted to intervene in this matter, it was necessary to communicate with Bai Hua. It was not difficult to explain why the three big shots were gathered here to wait for someone who was considered a junior to them. Brother Guang, when you see Uncle Lu later, if you have any ideas, talk to him directly. However, based on my understanding of Uncle Lu, he might not be that easy to talk to. But don't worry if he doesn't listen. Even if I have to face him head-on, I will help you to the end. I know Zhuo Wei. He's not a good person. If he didn't mess with me before, I would have beaten that scum to death long ago. Before getting out of the car, Wang Qing patted his chest and vowed to Chen Guang. However, Chen Guang waved his hand. Forget it. Since Lu Chao's position is similar to your father's, and he has a good relationship with your family, why would I make things difficult for you? When the time comes, don't say anything. Remember to tell your father, I will handle it myself. As for the negotiation with Lu Chao, Chen Guang was very confident. He didn't believe that a mere Zhuo Wei and a paparazzi would mean much to Lu Chao. Lu Chao would never dare to provoke the plans of so many old men just for Zhuo Wei. If they really couldn't come to an agreement, he would call Secretary Chu in front of Lu Chao and use this trump card. He didn't believe that Lu Chao wouldn't kneel. Of course, unless it was absolutely necessary, Chen Guang didn't want to expose this matter. If he really angered Lu Chao, the old men would be happy to see him suffer. They would even be happy that I helped them attract the attention. Since you guys have done this, don't blame me for returning the favor. In other words, if Lu Chao knew about this matter, it wouldn't be a big problem. If he didn't want to die, or if he was sane enough, he wouldn't leak the information. That's not good, right? I'm afraid if the negotiation breaks down. Other than energy and mining, Uncle Lu also has a company called Lucier Culture. 8 Weekly is very useful to him, you know? Lucier Culture? F*CK, it can't be, it's his. Although Chen Guang did not pay much attention to the news of the entertainment industry, he had heard of the famous Lucier Culture. After all, many A-list film and television stars were artists under this company. Many of the popular films and TV series and movies were also produced by this company. Wang Qing nodded. I just thought of it, so it doesn't seem that easy to negotiate. It doesn't matter. I'm not joking with you. I really have my own ways. Don't speak carelessly when the time comes. In the end, Chen Guang decided to face it head-on. There was no need to drag Wang Qing, a junior, into it. Seeing that he was serious, Wang Qing had no choice but to say, all right, I'll listen to you. Enchanting, who was at the side, said somewhat impatiently, why are you speaking so much nonsense? This Lu Chao is really untactful. He became obedient after a beating. Wang Qing sucked in a breath of cold air. Io, who knows where this little girl came from? You can't just say things like that. All right, I admit it. Uncle Lu's status in Great Chuan is actually slightly higher than my father's. It's mainly because Uncle Lu has an expert by his side. We all call him Uncle Tai. He's really powerful. Really powerful? How powerful? Enchanting blinked her eyes cutely. He knows the kind of internal energy that is written in wuxia novels. I once saw him smash a big wooden table with one slap. He's really powerful. Enchanting curled her lips in disdain. She didn't need Wang Qing to say anything more. She already knew who this Uncle Tai was. Needless to say, he was most likely a disciple of some small sect. He had no hope in the path of martial arts, so he came out to do odd jobs to earn some money. On one hand, he could subsidize the sect, and on the other, he could make a living. This kind of person was mysterious in the eyes of outsiders. He had the aura of a peerless master. However, as a person in the circle, Enchanting was very clear. Any martial artist who had reached the level of bone strength would almost never run out to be a bodyguard. It would be amazing if that Uncle Tai had reached the level of muscle strength. He probably hadn't even reached the level of internal strength and was still at the stage of external strength. Wang Qing was a little embarrassed by Enchanting's curled lips and rolled eyes. If it wasn't for Chen Guang's sake, he would have flipped out at Enchanting. Chen Guang understood Enchanting's thoughts. He patted Wang Qing's shoulder and said, "Don't worry about her. She's been pampered since childhood and has a strange temper. Let's not talk anymore and go straight in." After the three of them entered the hall, many people came up to greet Wang Qing warmly. Although Comrade Wang was of low seniority, he was Wang Guoxiong's son after all. Most people still had to give him some face. Although Chen Guang had a resounding reputation outside, it was unexpected that not many people here recognized him. It was only because he and Enchanting came in together with Wang Qing that they barely managed to catch a glimpse of him. Perhaps there were more gazes on Enchanting than on Chen Guang. Of course, such a beautiful girl would attract attention no matter where she was. "Hello, Uncle Lu, Uncle Yin Si." Wang Qing greeted them as he approached Lu Chao and the others' table. Wang Guoxiong nodded at Wang Qing. "The sun rose from the west today. I didn't expect you to be here first. Go and find a place to sit. I'll talk to your Uncle Lu and Uncle Yin Si." Wang Guoxiong stretched his neck again and noticed that Chen Guang was standing behind Wang Qing. He stood up and said, "Little Chen, you're here too? Come, old Lu, old Yin. Let me introduce you. This is Chen Guang, my son's friend. He's a young talent." Wang Guoxiong had always remembered Chen Guang's favor. Perhaps if it wasn't for Chen Guang, Wang Qing would still be addicted to racing and might have died in a car accident. Fourth Master Yin and Lu Chao also stood up and shook hands with Chen Guang for Wang Guoxiong's sake. Fourth Master Yin said, "I know you. You've been quite famous recently. You're almost the #1 internet celebrity in our country." Lu Chao's eyes lit up. "#1 internet celebrity in our country? Is it that amazing?" Fourth Master Yin said, "Of course. You don't know how amazing he is now. I heard from my son that a random post of his on Weibo would get hundreds of thousands of replies. He's very famous." Lu Chao turned to look at Chen Guang. "He's quite amazing. Has he signed a contract with a management company?" Fourth Master Yin rolled his eyes. "Old Lu, don't even think about recruiting him. Chen Guang and that kid from the Tang family have teamed up to start a company. It's only been 2 days since it opened. Don't even think about recruiting people for your Lu Shi. That's a pity, but who knows what will happen in the future. We can keep in touch," Lu Chao said with a smile. Fourth Master Yin shook his head. "Old Lu, give up. There's no chance." Lu Chao was confused. "Why? Old Yin, why you sound so weird?" "It's not that I'm weird, but Zhuwei has been making a lot of noise on the internet these past 2 days. He just can't get along with little Chen," Fourth Master Yin said with a wink. Compared to the other two, Fourth Master Yin knew the situation the best. This was also because his son happened to be Chen Guang's fan. He had been fighting for Chen Guang at the dinner table for the past 2 days and almost begged Chen Guang to help his idol out. Fourth Master Yin was also a shrewd person, and he wouldn't visit for no reason. Chen Guang and Wang Qing's relationship had been going on for a long time, and a few of them knew about it. However, they had never heard of Wang Qing bringing Chen Guang into their circle. However, Chen Guang came here today. Moreover, Fourth Master Yin knew about the dirty relationship between Zhuwei and Lu Chao. Therefore, he guessed Chen Guang's intention when he saw Chen Guang. Thus, he took the initiative to expose the matter, which could be considered as doing Chen Guang a favor. Lu Chao was stunned at first, but he quickly reacted. He looked at Chen Guang awkwardly and said, "I really don't know about this. I've been overseas for the past few days and just got off the plane this afternoon. Little Chen, can you tell me about it?" As he spoke, he got up from the couch and patted on Chen Guang's shoulder before he led the latter to the side. He got up from the sofa as he spoke. He patted Chen Guang's shoulder and led him to the side in a friendly manner. "Let them talk first. It's not a big deal." Wang Guoxiong looked at their backs and said indifferently, "Wang Qing, you can go walk around with this young lady." Wang Qing nodded. He turned around and sat in a booth a few meters away. Enchanting raised her head and glanced at Mr. Tai, who was standing behind the sofa. A playful smile appeared in her eyes. As she had guessed, he was an insider. It was just that he was a little weak. He was only at muscle force and was far from the pinnacle. Judging from his age, he would probably stay at this level for the rest of his life. Tai Xinju's heart was in turmoil. He broke out in a cold sweat when the young lady glanced at him. Don't be fooled by Enchanting's inferiority before Chengguang. She didn't even dare to compare herself to One. But no matter how desolate the Thousand Despairs sect was, they were still part of the inner circle of cultivators. So even if they cooperated with the Myriad Flower Valley to produce pellets, it could be considered a specialty in the underworld. Tai Xinju's background was much worse than Enchanting's. Enchanting did not know who he was and could only see through his cultivation. However, Tai Xinju recognized Enchanting at first glance. The genius disciple of the Thousand Absolutes sect. A few years ago, the Thousand Absolutes sect had invited many people from the Jianghu to attend the open selection of the first disciple. At that time, Tai Xinju was fortunate enough to be there with the senior experts of the sect. At that time, he had seen the 15-year-old Enchanting, who was at the pinnacle of muscle force, suppress all her peers. At that time, the people from the weak sects were shocked by Enchanting's talent. Now that a few years had passed, Tai Xinju could feel that Enchanting's cultivation was unfathomable. It was obvious that her cultivation was already above bone force. As the precious first disciple of the Thousand Absolutes sect, why was she following behind the young man named Chengguang like a follower? This kind of shameful thing should be done by low-level disciples with no potential. What was going on with her? Who was that young man named Chengguang? It seemed that there was something going on between him and Mr. Liu. This was going to be troublesome. Tai Xinju began to feel nervous. At this time, Chengguang and Liu Chao had already started a simple negotiation face-to-face. Chapter 628. I'm sorry, little Chun. I'm not too sure about the current situation. Please tell me everything in detail. Liu Chao didn't realize the seriousness of the problem. He only thought that Zhuo Wei and Chengguang had a simple quarrel. As he spoke, Liu Chao looked at Chengguang casually, but he was actually carefully sizing him up. Secretly, he thought more highly of this young man. There weren't many young people in Sichuan province who could chat with him without batting an eyelid. At least, Chengguang was one of them. But he didn't know that in Yinjing, not to mention Liu Chao, I've been chatting happily with people who are many times older than you, okay? The old man had a big heart. That was how confident he was. Then I'll get straight to the point. I heard that Zhuo Wei, an 8 Weekly's backer, is you, Mr. Liu, right? Liu Chao shook his head. No, to be precise, I'm the boss of 8 Weekly. Zhuo Wei is considered to be working for me. He only has shares, and I give him a bonus every year. Liu Chao admitted that he was a hoodlum and very generous. That's even better. Chengguang grinned and told Liu Chao everything that happened in the past few days. From Zhuo Xiaowei's rudeness in the parking lot, to Zhuo Wei's failure to bring his bodyguards to the press conference, to the first time he sent someone to spy on them that night, and then to the overwhelming amount of scandals on the internet. Then there were the negotiations between Chengguang and Zhuo Wei from 2 million to 20 million, and then to 30 million. In the end, everyone from 8 Weekly was sent to the hospital yesterday. Zhuo Wei was probably a commander without an army now. Chengguang didn't hide anything from Liu Chao. Since he was the real boss of 8 Weekly, these things would sooner or later reach his ears from other sources. Liu Chao's brows gradually furrowed. He could imagine how much pain Zhuo Wei was in. Although he didn't interfere with the actual management of 8 Weekly, Liu Chao could roughly estimate how much money 8 Weekly had invested. It was my negligence that something like this happened. In that case, I apologize to you on behalf of Zhuo Wei. Liu Chao pondered for a moment and finally said. Chengguang raised his eyebrows. It seemed that Liu Chao was indeed planning to help Zhuo Wei with this matter. Chengguang looked at Liu Chao playfully. Oh, that's it. Liu Chao was a little unhappy. In his understanding, as long as he apologized, even if the grudge was as big as the sky, it would be over. Looking at the Sichuan province, and even the whole country, his apology was usually enough. Because of Wang Guoxiong and his son, I have given you enough face. You should know when to stop, right? After all, this wasn't a big deal. Which celebrity hadn't been defamed before? In the past, when I was defamed by others, who dared or had the ability to find me. Artists and actors should have the self-awareness of actors and shouldn't think of themselves as important just because they're famous. It seemed like Lu Chao didn't know that Chun Guang was Jin Shiyue's boyfriend. Of course, even if he knew, it wouldn't be a problem. His status as the emperor's son-in-law hadn't been decided yet, so he didn't have the ability to ride roughshod over him. Of course, I'll talk to Zhuo Wei later and ask him to restrain himself. Let's end this matter here. What else do you want? Lu Chao was getting more and more impatient. All right, we still have things to do. You and Lil Wang can talk among yourselves. We have a very important guest to receive later. Seeing that Lu Chao was Wang Qing's elder, Chun Guang was still polite. However, his attitude seemed like he couldn't continue the conversation if he didn't show some sincerity. Mr. Lu, don't be in a hurry to leave. Since I'm here, I have to tell you everything. My attitude is that it's not enough for you to greet him and restrain yourself. Even if he stops now, my reputation will still be in tatters, right? I'm afraid he'll have to come out and publicly apologize. Chun Guang said slowly, word by word. Lu Chao, who was about to turn and leave, stopped in his tracks and turned back. Lu Chao was so angry that he almost laughed. Young man, don't be too rash with your words and actions. Leave some leeway so that we can meet again in the future. Chun Guang shrugged. That's what I said to Zhuo Wei before, but he didn't want to give me any leeway. Also, it was your people who were causing trouble from the beginning. Now you're telling me to give him some leeway? Lu Chao turned around abruptly and used his fingers to lightly tap on the glass of the bar counter. His expression turned cold. The most I can do is make Zhuo Wei shut up, but I can't make him apologize. 8 Weekly's people have already been injured by you, and I'm not asking you for medical fees. Moreover, if Zhuo Wei publicly apologizes to you now, it'll be a huge blow to 8 Weekly's reputation in the industry. Do you understand? Actually, I've already given in to you. Even if I stop now, the millions that Zhuo Wei previously invested would have gone down the drain. Chun Guang was almost defeated by his logic. It was your people who wanted to cause trouble for me. You spent money to find people to slander me and force me to submit. You still have the cheek to say that your money has gone down the drain? You're quite thick-skinned. I don't think I forced you away to make things difficult for me, right? No matter how much money your people invested and how many injuries they suffered, they only have themselves to blame. You can't blame me, can you? Chun Guang rubbed his nose, and his expression turned colder. Lu Chao finally waved his hand impatiently. All right, that's it. You youngsters can play by yourselves. After he finished speaking, he quickly turned around and quickly returned to the sofa to sit down. Wang Guoxiong noticed that the atmosphere was a little off. He wanted to say something, but Lu Chao took the initiative to change the topic. He looked at his watch first. Mr. Bai will be here in about 10 minutes. Where were we? Wang Guoxiong and Yin Laosi knew that he didn't want to talk about Chun Guang anymore. They sighed in their hearts, but they didn't say anything else. Standing up, Wang Guoxiong called Wang Qing back and patted on the latter's shoulder before giving a signal to his son. Wang Qing, bring Chun Guang to the inner field to play. There's something that you youngsters like to play there. Wang Guoxiong blinked. He wanted to get involved in this matter, but now wasn't the time. He hinted to Wang Qing that they should discuss it privately after they were done with business. However, Wang Qing shook his head slightly and mouthed to his father, Brother Guang told us not to talk. Wang Guoxiong was a little surprised, but he didn't show it on his face. He nodded slightly to show that he understood. He then sat down and continued to talk about the new energy project with Fourth Master Yin and Lu Chao. Chun Guang glanced at the three of them from afar. A cold glint flickered in his eyes. For a split second, he almost wanted to attack Lu Chao. However, he felt that it was meaningless to do so, as it would only make things difficult for Wang Qing. Since that's the case, don't blame me for putting up a front. You guys can talk about business first. I'll get Secretary Chu to talk to you on behalf of the old master. You'll know how it feels then. Xi and Qing glanced at Lu Chao, but didn't say anything. Instead, she went to sit beside Chun Guang and Wang Qing's table. She leaned against Chun Guang and fiddled with her fingers in boredom. Among everyone present, Lu Chao's bodyguard, Tai Xinju, was the one who felt the most uneasy. Enchanting's calm gaze was especially terrifying in Tai Xinju's eyes. He turned his head slightly to look at Lu Chao, who was chatting happily with the other two men. Then, he looked at Enchanting, who was leaning against Chengguang. Tai Xinju was having a headache. What exactly did you talk about with that young man? She's the thousand despair sex senior sister. If anything happens, I won't be able to protect you this time. Brother Guang, did it break down? Wang Qing asked in a low voice. Chen Guang grunted. It did. My head hurts. Wang Qing rubbed his forehead. There's nothing to worry about. You should have told me first. I was mentally prepared, but it's not a big deal. Chen Guang was calm. After all, he had decided to use his trump card. After a while, Lu Fei and Zhong Bai arrived at almost the same time. Seeing that Chen Guang was also there, they gathered together and chatted happily. Lu Fei, in particular, dragged Chen Guang to a large sofa nearby and made fun of a beautiful girl like Enchanting. Then, she pressed herself against Chen Guang's body and groped him. Chen Guang had been longing for Lu Fei for a long time. It was rare to see Lu Fei again, and now that she was secretly touching his back and butt, his hands were no longer honest. He cast aside his worries and was so happy that he didn't know what was going on. Among everyone present, only Wang Qing felt the most pained. He wondered where Chen Guang's courage came from. He had just broken down, but he had completely forgotten about it. Lu Fei and Zhong Bai seemed to want to ask about Chen Guang being defamed on the internet these past few days, but Chen Guang stopped them. Compared to Lu Chao, whether it was Wang Qing, Lu Fei, or Zhong Bai, they were all juniors. Juniors' face was not that useful in front of their elders, and they didn't want to make things more difficult for others. Right, I heard that today's reception is mainly for a person about our age from Yanjing. Who is it? Zhong Bai asked. Wang Qing thought for a moment. I think it's the vice president of Tianjin Energy. He's quite a powerful person, and he's almost as famous as Brother Shao Kai. Chen Guang's heart skipped a beat. Bai Hua. Yes, it's Bai Hua. Brother Guang, you know him too? I thought you didn't care about these things at all. Wang Qing was surprised. Zhong Bai said, I heard that Bai Hua is quite handsome. Lu Fei spat. How can he be more handsome than Chen Guang? Yes, your brother Guang is the most handsome man in the world. So handsome that it's tragic. Zhong Bai rolled his eyes. Chen Guang was in no mood to pay attention to these people's jesting. Instead, he was sweating profusely. The moment Bai Hua's name was mentioned, he was reminded of his unbearable experience. Seriously, he was tricked by Lin Jingwei. Cross-dressing twice, and the second time, he was seen through by Jiang Yage. Now that he was back in Wujing, he thought that his interaction with Brother Bai would end here, and there would be no more opportunities to interact with him in the future. In the end, why did you come to Wujing, and, of all things, today's reception was to be the one to receive you? He was a little tempted to run away, but he felt that something was wrong. He was walking upright, so why should he be afraid of Bai Hua? Strange, why am I already standing at the entrance? Forget it, don't bother about these details. The old man would leave first. Seeing this guy annoyed him. It's better to hide outside and wait for the reception to end before looking for Lu Chao in private. Chapter 629. Chen Guang, why are you here? Chen Guang's expression froze for about 5 seconds when he saw Bai Hua enter the room. Then he put on a smile that said, What a coincidence. Brother Bai Hua, I'm here with my friends for a gathering. What are you? Bai Hua stepped forward and patted Chen Guang's shoulder before pushing him inside. What a coincidence. I was also invited here by someone. I was just about to have a chat with you when I came to the 5 capital. Chat about what? At this moment, Chen Guang was baffled. Bai Hua's expression suddenly became serious. What do you think? I entrusted Shuriwei to you, and this is how you respond? You idiot. You actually believe in those despicable and malicious rumors on the internet? Are you retarded? Chen Guang rolled his eyes. They might not be familiar with each other, but with Su Tao's intelligence and status, it's impossible that he couldn't see through such malicious intent, right? Screw you. If I really believed you, would I still be talking to you like this? All right, that's all I have to say. Before I set off, the elders had a quiet chat with me. You still lack experience in these matters. The most important matter that I have come to the five capitals is not the matter that I will discuss with Mr. Liu later, but your matter. That's all I have to say. It's good that you understand. We can talk privately later. Bai Hua said as he put his hand on Chen Guang's shoulder and walked inside. On the other side, Lu Chao, Wang Guoxiong, and Fourth Master Yin had already gathered together with a group of people. Lu Chao felt uncomfortable when he saw Chen Guang and Bai Hua being so familiar with each other. However, he was still a veteran and immediately squeezed out a smile on his face. "Mr. Bai, why did you come here directly? Please take a seat." Everyone else in the room also came up to greet them enthusiastically. In order to get a share of this huge project, they couldn't be too enthusiastic. Bai Hua, on the other hand, wasn't arrogant and returned the greeting. In terms of dealing with people, he didn't have the slightest bit of immaturity. On the contrary, he could make everyone he talked to feel like they were bathing in the spring breeze. "Chen Guang, are you interested in listening to us? Shall we go together?" Bai Hua turned around and asked Chen Guang, who was beside him. Chen Guang waved his hand. "Forget it. I'm not interested." Chen Guang ran away as soon as he finished speaking. He only cared about his own matters right now. What Bai Hua wanted to discuss with these people had nothing to do with him. Once they were done with their discussion, Chen Guang would tell him everything. "Since you're here to help me solve my problem, it just so happens that the main characters are here today. Let's have a good talk." Bai Hua and the group of people from the five capitals walked toward the conference room. Along the way, Lu Chao casually asked, "Mr. Bai seems to be quite familiar with Chen Guang." Bai Hua replied without hesitation, "It's not that we're very familiar with each other. It's more like we're brothers. I didn't expect to meet him here today." "I see." Lu Chao gradually felt that something was wrong and began to regret not having a good talk with Chen Guang. On the other side, Tai Xinju had something he wanted to say to Lu Chao, but he couldn't find an opportunity to do so. Even after everyone had entered the conference room, Tai Xinju still couldn't open his mouth. "Mr. Tai?" Tai Xinju watched as the conference room door closed. Just as he came back to his senses, he heard Enchanting's crisp voice coming from behind him. Tai Xinju turned around stiffly and cupped his hands towards Enchanting. Tai Xinju of the Iron Arm sect greets senior sister Exian of the Thousand Despair sect. With Tai Xinju's age, he could be considered Exian's uncle. However, he knew the rules of the Thousand Despair sect. Among the younger generation of disciples, strength was everything. Enchanting was fully deserving of the title of senior sister of the Thousand Despair sect. Tai Xinju also knew the rules of the underworld. Strength was everything. So he addressed Enchanting as senior sister Exian. Enchanting raised her eyebrows. Iron Arm sect? She was a little unfamiliar with the name of the sect. She couldn't figure out, even after thinking for a long time. Tai Xinju didn't feel offended at all. He continued to bow and said, "My sect was founded less than 100 years ago by Grandmaster Taizhan. My words carry little weight, so it's normal that senior sister Exian doesn't know about it. However, during the Thousand Despair sect's disciple selection a few years ago, I was one of the people who attended the ceremony with the elders of the sect when senior sister Exian ascended to the position of senior sister Exian. Is that so? Then, Enchanting greets you. Although there were at least 1,000 people who attended the ceremony, it was still a friendship. Enchanting's attitude towards Tai Xinju became slightly more amiable. Tai Xinju immediately felt the pressure on him lessen, and he felt much more relaxed. "Are you Lu Chao's bodyguard?" Enchanting asked again. Replying senior sister Exian, "That is indeed the case." "That's good. Go back and tell Lu Chao to be sensible and ask him to ask Zhuo Wei to apologize to Chen Guang immediately. If it wasn't for Chen Guang stopping me time and time again, Zhuo Wei would have been a dead man. However, I don't know how long I can endure it. You know the rules of Jianghu. Either you don't take action, or you take action to eliminate the root of the problem." Enchanting turned around and left after she finished speaking. Tai Xinju struggled to hold the door frame with his hands. His legs were weak, and he was shocked. This little girl was definitely less than 20 years old, but the aura of inner strength that she deliberately released just now was the true peak of bone strength. Even the sect-guarding elders of the Iron Arm sect who were cultivating in seclusion were not as strong as her. The strength of the rich and powerful sects was really terrifying. If Tai Shinju knew that Chun Guang's biggest backer in the inner strength world was not Xian Qin, but the One family's Wenwan, who had passed the painting scroll to Qin Guang, he would probably be so scared that he would personally kill Lu Chao. On the other side, Qin Guang was chatting with Lu Fei, Zhong Bai, and Wang Qing. I've heard of Bai Hua's name many times before, but today is the first time I've seen him. He seems to be quite powerful, Wang Qing said with some envy. He was quite envious of Bai Hua's general demeanor, but he really couldn't learn it. Bai Hua and Lin Jingwei, who were at the peak of power, were different from Zhong Bai, Lu Fei, and Wang Qing. In this country, power and money were not absolutely linked or equal, but power was definitely more useful than money. What's so powerful about him? Little Kai is not worse than him. We are all the same age, and we have Little Kai in the 5 capitals. As Tang Xiaokai's childhood friend, Zhong Bai had a different view. Lu Fei said, Little Kai in the south and Little Bai in the north. Both of them are quite outstanding. But I don't like Bai Hua. I think he is too pretentious. Little Kai is more pleasing to the eye. Chun Guang coughed lightly, and Lu Fei immediately added, but in our Chun Guang, Little Kai, Bai Hua, and the others will all serve as foils for our racing god. Zhong Bai and Wang Qing covered their faces in shame. Sister Lu Fei, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Come to think of it, are you two real men showing off your love in front of us? What? Not convinced? Lu Fei asked again. Convinced. Totally convinced. Zhong Bai and Wang Qing nodded repeatedly. After all, the meeting did not last long. After about an hour, everyone came out. Today was only the preliminary exchange between the two sides. Companies and investors who were interested in participating had reported their names. Bai Hua asked his personal secretary, Song Ting, to write down the information on the spot, and he briefly introduced the project outline. For such a large project, the leading role would inevitably be played by Tianjin Energy and the relevant ministries. The local forces of the 5 capitals would more or less have a share of the pie in the middle. But how to discuss the cooperation, how to distribute the resources, and whether there would be other people involved were all matters for the next step. But overall, everyone had a good talk today. All right, everyone, you don't have to worry about me. Go busy yourselves. I will go and have a chat with Qin Guang. I heard that his new company has encountered some trouble recently, and I have to give him some advice. By the way, we are all heroes of Great Sichuan, so please help my brother, Qin Guang. Before the meeting ended, Bai Hua did not forget to pull some strings for Qin Guang. Lu Chao, on the other hand, had a bad feeling in his heart. What kind of trouble could Qin Guang have encountered? Wasn't it caused by his subordinate, Zhuo Wei? Of course, of course. Since Qin Guang is your friend, of course, we will help him if we can. Lu Chao wiped his sweat and lowered his head. Wang Guoxiong and 4th Master Yin looked at each other. Looking at Lu Chao's deflated expression, they found it funny, but they were also worried that the project would be ruined because of this. They were in a mess. When everyone walked out of the door, Bai Hua called out to Qin Guang again. Qin Guang, come over here. Qin Guang stood up and walked over. What? There are a lot of people outside. Give me some face and speak politely to me. Bai Hua joked, then pulled Qin Guang in front of everyone. Just now, I mentioned your matter to Mr. Liu and the others. Don't worry, Mr. Liu, Mr. Wang, and Mr. Yin are all big shots in Great Sichuan. There's nothing they can't handle. I'll settle it for you just like that. Qin Guang glanced at Lu Chao. Seeing his awkward expression, he crooked his face. Brother Bai, don't say that. There's really nothing in Great Sichuan that Mr. Liu can't handle. I won't hide it from you. Let's talk over there. Over there. Seeing that Qin Guang was going to reveal the plaque in front of everyone, Lu Chao could no longer stay calm. He hurriedly came over and led Qin Guang and Bai Hua to the side. Then, he desperately winked at Wang Guoxiong, asking him to send the others away. One mustn't wash one's dirty linen in public. This time, he was really going to lose face. Bai Hua's heart was full of doubts, but he had accepted the task of helping Chen Guang solve his problems. Perhaps the elders felt that the matter was almost settled, or perhaps someone finally understood Chen Guang's personality and knew that if he didn't give him the slightest bit of support, he would quit. In the end, they sent Bai Hua. "All right, I'm a little tired of this. Let's not beat around the bush. I'll make it short. Brother Bai Hua, the one who's been spreading rumors on the internet, sending people to secretly take pictures of me, and spreading rumors on the internet that I'm wrong, is Zhuo Wei and his 8 weekly magazine. Do you know Zhuo Wei?" The three of them walked to a corner, and Chen Guang spoke. Lu Chao was a little helpless, but he forced himself to calm down. "Little Chen, don't be like this. We could talk things out." Bai Hua ignored Lu Chao and thought for a while. The paparazzi who chased a car and killed the singer Zhenru more than a decade ago? Chen Guang nodded. "That's him. He's doing very well now. He's known as China's #1 paparazzi and the underground emperor of the entertainment industry. He can call the wind and summon the rain. Isn't he the one who targeted me and asked me to pay a protection fee of 30 million? If I didn't pay, it would be like what you see now, right? F***CK. He's courting death." Bai Hua rarely used profanity, but this time he was truly enraged. "When I was young, I loved listening to Zhenru's songs. But when she died, I was only 10 years old, so I didn't really care about it. F***CK. 10 years later, this scumbag really wants to overturn the heavens? Who gave him the guts? The underground emperor? 30 million? Lu Chao didn't even have the chance to explain. "No, it's not that exaggerated." However, Chen Guang paid no attention to him. He looked at Lu Chao and said word by word, "The one who gave him the guts is the dragon head of the Great River, Mr. Lu. Don't you know? The boss behind China's #1 paparazzi team is Lu Shi Culture's boss, Lu Chao, Mr. Lu." "Interesting," Bai Hua said as he turned to look at Lu Chao. He was organizing his words in his mind. At the same time, he was already weighing the elder's determination and attitude towards Chen Guang. Lu Chao was a big boss. This was without a doubt. He had deep roots in Sichuan province and might have some connections in the upper echelons. If they wanted to touch him, they might have to move the whole body. But no matter how big the matter was, it couldn't be bigger than the elders' plan this time. If it was really necessary, the elders wouldn't mind sorting out all the connections Lu Chao had. Even if it was a big tree, they would be able to uproot it. "Mr. Lu, this time, you've gotten yourself involved in a big matter that you can't touch. This really isn't a pot that a mere big boss of Sichuan can handle. No one in the whole country can handle this black pot." Chapter 630. "Mr. Lu, although I'm here for official business and shouldn't meddle in other people's business, Zhuo Wei and Ba Zhou are being too overbearing, right?" Bai Hua hesitated for a moment, but he decided not to mention the elder's attitude. He wanted to see what Lu Chao was up to. Lu Chao wiped the cold sweat from his forehead. He knew that he was on the edge of a cliff. He felt that it wasn't that he couldn't afford to offend Bai Hua. It was just that the entire De Chuan Energy Association was trying to get involved in a new energy project under his leadership. If he offended Bai Hua because of this matter, he would have to go back and tell those old men who regarded him as a treasure. If he ended up causing a huge commotion in the project to go down the drain, he would definitely be embarrassed in the future. "Mr. Bai, don't worry. Chen Guang, I'll definitely give you a satisfactory explanation." Lu Chao forced himself to calm down. Chen Guang raised his eyebrows. It didn't seem to be interesting enough. Lu Chao knew what he wanted, but he still didn't ask Zhuo Wei to apologize publicly despite Bai Hua's pressure. Instead, he used this so-called explanation to fool Chen Guang. He was probably waiting for the matter to blow over. "Something's wrong with old Lu. He's actually sweating." Wang Guoxiong, who was secretly observing the corner, said to Fourth Master Yin. Fourth Master Yin nodded. "Something's wrong. I've never seen old Lu like this before. I've tried to persuade him, but we can't make our relationship too stiff. We're all brothers, so there's no need to cause trouble because of a small fry like Zhuo Wei." Fourth Master Yin said helplessly. "That's why I wanted to expose him first. Old Lu has been living too smoothly these past few years, so he's getting cocky." Fourth Master Yin saw through it. He didn't think about it. Since the Jin family's granddaughter publicly revealed her relationship with Chen Guang, this matter is already set in stone. We're businessmen now, so there's no need to risk our lives to make money like before. Maybe he doesn't care about this kind of thing. After all, Zhui usually takes care of these things for him. He just needs to collect the money. Wang Guoxiong nodded and walked over. When he got closer, he deliberately raised his voice and shouted, "How's the discussion going?" It wasn't a big deal. Harmony breeds wealth. Chen Guang turned to look at Wang Guoxiong and smiled. "Uncle Wang, it went well." Unexpectedly, Bai Hua seemed to be really angry. "I don't think it's good enough. How should I explain it? I'll have to trouble Mr. Liu to give me a proper explanation. Don't blame me for being overbearing. I, Bai Hua, am not the type of person to bully others. Furthermore, Mr. Liu is my elder. It's just that Zhuo Wei's actions are truly infuriating. If Mr. Liu is unwilling to cut off your own wrists, I, Bai Hua, don't mind doing it for you." Since Lu Chao had spoken to this point, Bai Hua had already made his stance clear. Although he had restrained himself and didn't use the name of the elders, speaking to Lu Chao in such a manner as a member of the younger generation was extremely impolite. Wang Guoxiong felt a chill run down his spine as he listened. Previously, everyone thought that Bai Hua had said that Chen Guang was his brother because he was being polite. But now it was clear that Bai Hua was declaring war. He couldn't help but anxiously look at Lu Chao. "Old Lu, why are you still hesitating? At this time, if you don't make up your mind to clean up your own mess, I'm afraid you'll drag all of us down with you." "Old Lu, Mr. Bai is right. There are some things that Zhuo Wei has done that are a bit excessive. He must pay the price. Just like that Su Lijing from Gokyo University, right?" Wang Guoxiong lightly patted Lu Chao's shoulder, but he didn't say anything. He pointed out Su Lijing's matter to remind Lu Chao, "Old Lu, that you must remain calm and not follow in Su Lijing's footsteps." At the same time, he was also reminding Lu Chao not to think that besides Bai Hua in front of everyone, there was still Wu Shan behind Chen Guang. Although everyone was trying to make a name for themselves, there were still some shady things in the past. Now, some industries weren't so bright, and Wu Shan couldn't be ignored. Lu Chao understood what Wang Guoxiong meant, and he broke out in a cold sweat. It seemed that he had really underestimated Chen Guang. Black, white, and economic. In black, Chen Guang had a friendship with Wang Guoxiong and his son, who were about the same status as him. Wang Guoxiong owed him a favor. In white, it was rumored that he had a close relationship with Wu Shan, who was in charge of politics and law in Sichuan province. In politics, he had a special relationship with the Jin family, and now he had a close relationship with Bai Hua, who was the second and third generation of the old master. In terms of economics, the new energy project that everyone was very concerned about was led by Bai Hua. In addition, his company also had the backing of the Tang family's genius, Tang Xiaokai. With all these factors added together, Chen Guang's identity was definitely not a simple internet celebrity or artist. He clearly represented a terrifying force that Lu Chao couldn't contend with. Even if he brought out his own backing, it might not be enough. If the two sides really fell out, Lu Chao was afraid that his backing might even choose to sacrifice the rook to protect the king. Scary. Many things were like this when you couldn't figure them out. They would never know how powerful it was, but once they understood it, those seemingly profound principles were nothing more than a thin layer of window paper. Once it was pierced, one would be able to see the shadows of swords and sabers behind the paper window. The only difference was whether the person involved really had the heart to pay attention to the problem and the person, and whether they could really pierce through this layer of paper. Wang Guoxiong and Fourth Master Yin didn't guess wrongly. Lu Chao was indeed a little arrogant. Now that he was suddenly awakened, Lu Chao felt as if he was suddenly enlightened. His inflated thoughts instantly fell to the bottom of the valley. When he looked at Chen Guang again, it was as if he was looking at a dreadful monster. Even if he couldn't figure out why Chen Guang would suddenly appear out of nowhere and climb to the top, he still couldn't figure it out. However, the situation was stronger than him. He knew that he was overestimating himself. From the beginning to the end, Chen Guang's words weren't overbearing anymore. He also didn't think that his relationship with Bai Hua was as good as what he was showing now. Bai Hua's attitude was most likely due to the orders of the old masters. It was impossible for him to be deeply grateful to Bai Hua. Everyone was just doing their own things. Tai Xinju had also been paying attention to the situation over there. He had followed Lu Chao for dozens of years, but he rarely saw Mr. Lu in such a dilemma. Lu Chao was indeed having a hard time right now. Once he realized the situation, he felt a lingering fear, but he also knew that he had to show an appropriate attitude. He couldn't try to fool them anymore. Otherwise, the next step would be a bottomless abyss. However, they were still outside, and there were many people paying attention to this place. If there was no one around, he might be willing to bow his head and admit defeat. He could even kneel down and kowtow. It wasn't like he hadn't done such things in the past. However, he couldn't do it now. There were so many people watching him, and he was a person of status. His knees couldn't soften, and he couldn't lower his head. Chen Guang and Bai Hua didn't say anything else. They were waiting for Lu Chao to make a final decision. Lu Chao had been unstoppable for dozens of years. From starting from scratch to building up such a foundation, even when he was surrounded by assassins, it didn't seem as difficult as this. When he was being chased, he at least knew that once he escaped, he would have a bright future. However, now he was being pressured by someone who was too powerful for him to resist. He couldn't escape, and he couldn't free himself. If there was a medicine for regret in this world, Lu Chao would buy a pound of it. If he hadn't been so arrogant when Chen Guang talked to him, and if he hadn't been so arrogant and looked at himself seriously to understand the trouble Zhuo Wei had caused him, then he would have agreed to his relatively reasonable request. Then he wouldn't have ended up in this situation. Brother Lu, I'll tell you the truth. In the eyes of ordinary people, I might be considered an expert, but I'm nothing among the inner force martial artists. Any inner disciple of the Thousand Despair sect is much more powerful than me. For example, the eldest senior sister of the sect leader, Enchanting, has the ability to single-handedly annihilate my sect, the Iron Arm sect. This, Lu Chao's eyes widened. However, even though the Thousand Despair sect is so powerful, their eldest senior sister of the sect leader stays by Chen Guang's side as a follower. Although I don't know the reason, there's no doubt that taking a step back will lead to the end of the world. Tai Xinju said solemnly. Even Tai Xinju, who had followed him for decades and was as close as a brother, said the same thing. This was the last straw that broke the camel's back for Lu Chao. He gritted his teeth. Damn you, Zhuo Wei. How big of a hornet's nest did you poke? How much trouble have you caused for me? I've told you before that you have to earn money. With me supporting you, you might be considered a force in the entertainment industry, but you have to know who you can touch and who you can't. At this moment, he began to blame Zhuo Wei in his heart. However, how could Zhuo Wei bear the blame? Who would have thought that an internet celebrity like Chen Guang would be able to build up such a terrifying social network in just a few months? A few months ago, he was still relying on online taxi booking to make ends meet. Lu Chao finally nodded. All right, Brother Tai, I understand what you mean. It's good that you understand. Seeing that Lu Chao had finally thought it through, Tai Xinju let out a long sigh. The most taboo thing for people in the pugilistic world was to hit a rock with an egg. The principle of the strong being respected was achieved with one's fists. There was no such thing as a glib tongue, and there was no such thing as the weak defeating the strong. For example, with Tai Xinju's muscle strength cultivation, he would be courting death if he tried to provoke Enchanting, who had bone strength cultivation. Even 10 of him would not be enough to defeat Enchanting with a casual throw of a dart. Lu Chao returned to Chen Guang and the others. He took a deep breath and did not care if the others were looking at him. This big boss of his generation, who could make the Chuan tremble with a stomp of his foot, directly lowered his head and bowed at a 90-degree angle. Mr. Chen, I, Lu Chao, formally apologize to you. It was the same apology, but times had changed. Lu Chao's tone and attitude were completely different from before. Chen Guang finally grinned. He looked at Lu Chao and laughed in his heart. If you knew it would be like this, why did you do it in the first place? Really, don't act like a pretentious prick in front of me. Is there a need to humble yourself like this? You're more or less Wang Qing's elder. Now you're making me feel so embarrassed. Uncle Lu, you're being too serious. It's all right. I'm your junior, so don't be so polite to me. I can't afford it. Chen Guang responded with a smile and raised his hand to help Lu Chao up. Lu Chao looked up at Chen Guang and said, "Since Mr. Chen calls me Uncle Lu, I'll continue to call you Little Chun. How about this, Little Chun? Give me 1 yuan. 1 yuan? Chen Guang was puzzled. Lu Chao nodded. That's right, 1 yuan. After saying that, he spread his hands in front of Chen Guang. Although Chen Guang did not know what he was up to, he did have a coin in his pocket. He took it out and placed it in Lu Chao's hand. Lu Chao put the coin in his pocket. The 8 weekly magazines are yours, Little Chun. You can do whatever you want with this company. What? Chen Guang's eyes widened. He thought he had heard wrong. Lu Chao smiled. I just sold the 8 weekly magazines to you. 1 yuan. Lu Chao nodded. Yes, 1 yuan. As he said that, he covered his pocket as if he was afraid that Chen Guang would go back on his word. Chapter 631. This guy was really decisive. Other than Zhuo Wei, 8 Weekly was still considered an influential news media in the country. Their reputation aside, they had over 100 employees and a considerable circulation. Apart from that, the company also had a lot of secrets about the entertainment industry. Adding all of these resources together, it wouldn't be wrong to say that 8 Weeks was worth over 100 million. However, Lu Chao actually sold it to Chen Guang for a single yuan. Beside him, Baihua secretly gave Lu Chao a thumbs up. Selling a single quintuple for 8 weeks, which was worth hundreds of millions of dollars, was truly a show of sincerity. But I'm not interested in being the head of the paparazzi. Chen Guang knew that Lu Chao was showing his sincerity. It's fine. Little Chun, you could dissolve the company now. It's already yours. As for Zhuo Wei, you don't have to worry about him. Lu Chao continued. How about I arrange for him to make a public apology now? Do as you wish. I don't want to see him again. The sooner the better. But you have to help me get rid of the bad influence. I won't let him get away with it if he leaves any more dirt. Chen Guang waved his hand casually. Compared to him, Zhuo Wei was just a clown. Now that the clown was about to leave the stage, there was no need for him to watch how the clown was going to leave. Is there a need for that? Lu Chao made a gesture of cutting his throat. Baihua coughed lightly. Mr. Lu, this is a society ruled by law. Chen Guang shook his head. No matter what, Zhuo Wei was still Zhuo Jingxi's uncle. All right, let's end this here. All right, Mr. Lu, there were some things I couldn't say at the meeting. Now, we can talk about it in detail. Seeing that the dust had almost settled, White Birch jumped out at the right time. He couldn't suppress a person like Lu Chao too much, so he had to hit him with a stick and give him some benefits. This was what he had to do, and he knew this very well. Lu Chao had decisively cut his losses. It was reasonable to give him some benefits. Lu Chao was overjoyed. He was secretly glad that he had made the right decision at the crucial moment. All right, let's go talk. Call Mr. Wang and Mr. Yin. I'll be there soon. All right. As Lu Chao spoke, he walked to the side and called Wang Guoxiong and Fourth Master Yin to the small conference room of the club. Chen Guang had a feeling that Baihua was purposely sending Lu Chao away. This guy had bad intentions. Sure enough, after everyone had left, Baihua suddenly moved closer to Chen Guang. Chen Guang quietly took a step back, keeping his distance from White Birch. In the end, this guy did not give up and continued to press forward. Chen Guang's eyes widened as he stared at Baihua. It was as if he was looking at a scourge or a ferocious beast. If you come any closer, I'll beat you up. Baihua, on the other hand, seemed to be completely unaware of Chen Guang's murderous glare. Instead, he became somewhat bashful. In Chen Guang's eyes, his demeanor was especially frightening. Big brother, don't be like this. Let's talk things out properly. Don't blush, don't be shy. I think you make me more flustered than Zhuo Wei. Chen Guang, I heard from Jing Wei. Baihua began to organize his words. Chen Guang was even more afraid. Big brother, you don't need to organize your words when you talk to me. Could it be that Lin Jingwei, That bastard has already sold the matter of me being Chinyu to you. We really can't be brothers anymore. From now on, little Lin, you and I are absolutely irreconcilable. What did Lin Jingwei say? Chen Guang forced himself to calm down and asked with a slightly trembling voice. Jingwei said that you know Chun Yu, Bai Hua finally said. Chen Guang secretly patted his chest. Luckily, Bai Hua only said that he knew Chun Yu and didn't directly accuse him. It wasn't hard to imagine how badly Lin Jingwei had been interrogated by Bai Hua. That was why he had chosen to pin this matter on Chu Li. It must have been a terrifying, formless sword shadow. Yes, I know him. Brother Bai Hua, what are you doing? Chen Guang began to put on an act. I heard that she's also in the 5 capital. Can you help me make an appointment with her? I want to see her so much that I'm going crazy. Bai Hua was overjoyed. His words even seemed to have the intention of pleasing Chen Guang. It was completely different from the general's demeanor he had in front of Lu Chao and the others. It was as if he had become a different person. Chen Guang really wanted to tell him that Chen Yu was going crazy even if she didn't want to see him. I can't. Why? Bai Hua was unwilling. It wasn't easy for me to come here. Chen Guang shrugged his shoulders. Brother Bai Hua, it's not that I want to criticize you, but it wasn't easy for you to come here. It has nothing to do with Sister Chen Yu. Bai Hua was puzzled. How can it have nothing to do with me? First of all, you didn't inform her. Secondly, she has no obligation to see you just because you want to see her. Chen Guang lied through his teeth. He continued to solidify Chun Yu's arrogant image in Bai Hua's mind, making him completely give up. Bai Hua, on the other hand, seemed to have woken up from his reverie. Realization dawned on him. I understand. Not only was Bai Hua not disappointed, but he was also ecstatic. Chen Guang felt that he might have said something wrong. What do you understand? Bai Hua patted Chen Guang's shoulder. I finally understand why Chun Yu was never willing to accept me. Why? I've always been too selfish. I only cared about my own feelings. I thought that my passion could move anyone, but you're right. Love is a matter between two people. Not only will my passion not make her happy, it will only add to Chun Yu's troubles. He finally realized the arrogance hidden in his bones. Chen Guang's heart gradually fell. From his tone, it seemed that he was finally going to give up. It's good that you understand, but I won't give up. Bai Hua clenched his fists. His eyes flashed with determination. Chen Guang, are you King kidding me? Are you joking? From today onwards, I will be like a real, ordinary person. I will let go of my pride and conceit and use ordinary methods to pursue her. It doesn't matter if she doesn't want to see me. Please help me tell her that I, Bai Hua, am serious. I've never been so serious in my life. Chen Guang was speechless. No need to tell her. Thank you. She was just listening, and he already felt like vomiting. Brother Bai Hua, forget it. She has already become a nun and entered the Buddhist gate. It doesn't matter. I know that my overly enthusiastic pursuit must have caused her distress and trouble. I'm very sorry for it. If she is really determined to stay with the Buddha, then I am willing to become a bluestone for His Highness Mahavira and stay with her forever, never leaving or abandoning her. What a lunatic! My stomach is so uncomfortable that it's going to burst. Chen Guang turned around and left. This guy had gone completely crazy. It was better to run away before Chen Guang drove him crazy. As for discussing how to deal with Zhuo Wei, with Lu Chao, it was better to wait until their second small-scale meeting was over. Later that day, they would meet Lu Chao alone to discuss it. In any case, the matter had already been settled. That's right. Chen Guang planned to run away first. But before he could run, he suddenly realized that someone was missing. Enchanting was gone. After calling her to ask, he found out that her master had suddenly called her to deal with something. She had left first. Chen Guang wasn't worried about Enchanting's safety. In the 5 capital, unless she met another inner force martial artist, or at least skin force, ordinary people wouldn't be able to hurt her. Brother Guang, how's the matter going? Wang Qing asked the moment Chen Guang sat down. Zhong Bai and Lu Fei also looked at him nervously. After all, the atmosphere between Lu Chao and Chen Guang seemed to be at loggerheads at the start. With a smile, Chen Guang replied, I just gave Mr. Lu $1. 1 yuan? Lu Fei was puzzled. Zhongbai didn't quite understand either. What's the meaning behind it? 8 Trigram Society belongs to me. Zhuo Wei is just the professional manager of 8 Trigram Society. Actually, the entire 8 Trigram Society belongs to Mr. Liu. Chen Guang smiled. The three of them sucked in a breath of cold air. They were all shocked by Lu Chao's decisiveness. If Zhuo Wei knows that things have turned out this way, he'll probably break down, right? Lu Fei, who was the first to know about this, thought. Zhongbai and Wang Qing weren't good people either. They both smiled wickedly. That's it for now. I have to return to the company to make some arrangements. Chen Guang made up some nonsense. He was actually planning to run away before Bai Hua came out. I'll give you a ride. Lu Fei stood up. This time, Chen Guang didn't drive over. He needed someone to give him a ride. You too, don't do it in broad daylight. Wang Qing chuckled. Then, he was beaten by Lu Fei with a snap of her fingers. Lu Fei's almond-shaped eyes widened. It's already dark. In broad daylight, what the hell? When the two of them walked out of the club, it was already past 8 o'clock at night. It looked very dark. Sitting in the driver's seat of Lu Fei's Porsche 918, Lu Fei suddenly said thoughtlessly, I'm afraid we haven't sat in a car like this for a long time, right? Chen Guang felt a little itchy. He still remembered when he participated in the car gambling competition in Xiangjiang. Every time before the competition, he would sit in the car and touch her, igniting his adrenaline in advance with her help. He was able to be successful in the Xiangjiang car gambling competition and quickly enter an invincible state. Lu Fei indeed played a part in it. In those days, he could be said to have taken advantage of her. If it weren't for the fact that he was in a hurry to return to Wujing after winning the competition, he would have already executed Lu Fei on the spot. At that time, he let Lu Fei go, which was regarded as a lifelong regret by Chen Guang. But it seemed that there was no way to make up for it. He just didn't know why she brought it up again when their situation was somewhat similar to the past. Chen Guang replied, then started the car and ran forward. Yes, now we're slowly getting busy. I'm fine. When school starts, I guess I still have to go back to school, but I'm afraid you can't be the same as before, right? Lu Fei said strangely. Don't you have a Tingguang agency? Still studying? Chen Guang nodded. Of course I'm studying. Not to mention anything else, I worked hard from elementary school to high school for 12 years just to get into college. Regardless of whether I have a company or not, I still have to graduate from college. Not to mention others, at least I can't waste my 12 years of youth. Can I? Lu Fei nodded. That's true. I didn't expect you to be so capable. You haven't forgotten your original intentions. I don't deserve it. I often think of the bitter days when I was in junior high and high school, and I cry because of it. I can't bear to let it go to waste. It's said that youth has no regrets. My youth was all wasted on studying. I still have to use my graduation certificate to pay for my youth. I'm still nostalgic. I can't compare to Bill Gates, who could even drop out of Harvard. The car gradually sped up. Chen Guang started to go straight to Renan Road. He wanted to return to Lida Building. Although the people in the company had probably gotten off work at this time, Chen Guang's real purpose was to avoid trouble. It didn't matter whether there was anyone in the company or not. Unexpectedly, not long after they drove out, Lu Fei suddenly stretched. Her perky chest rose high. I haven't run on a mountain road in a long time. Take me to Fengquan Mountain? Chen Guang wondered. Lu Fei rolled her eyes at him and continued to stretch. You don't know. Ever since I stopped racing, I've been ordered around by my family. I never thought that my father would be so cold-blooded and heartless. Lu Fei said with a sigh. Her heart was bitter. In the past, she could race whenever she wanted. Although the branch was under her name, most of the time she was a hands-off boss. But now she couldn't. Once she entered that state, her family would think that she had matured and grown up. That heavy burden would come one after another and press down on her shoulders. Lu Chemical was such a big group, and the chairman only had one daughter. In the future, the company would be inherited by her. She would have to face these things sooner or later. It was just that because of Chen Guang's appearance, Lu Fei had fulfilled her biggest dream early. She had witnessed the extreme of racing with her own eyes, which pushed back the time for her to change her mind by 2 years. But people were not made of iron. They would all get tired. Lu Fei had been pressured by her family too much during this time. Although she was indeed sensible, she was no longer the crazy rich girl who always liked to wear leather clothes and loved racing. Now, she was a serious boss Lu in front of outsiders. She could take on airs, talk about things, and not lose the face of the Lu family in Dechuan. However, the little devil hidden in her bones would not turn into an angel so easily. Rebellion flowed in her blood. That was why she was so crazy and unrestrained when she accompanied Chen Guang to Xianjiang. Because of her worship, she was willing to take the initiative to dedicate herself and even take the initiative to seduce him. She didn't think there was anything wrong with it. This was the life she liked. She liked the feeling of excitement and madness. Of course, so far, only Chen Guang could make her completely crazy. It was completely impossible for people like Wang Qing and Zhong Bai. Even the king of cars could only slightly attract her attention. But Chen Guang was a god, not a human. Chen Guang's ability could not be measured by common sense. Chen Guang's position in her heart was incomparable. She was ignited by Chen Guang's godlike driving skills. She was even more attracted by his imposing manner in Xianjiang. Her legs trembled and her lower body was wet. Now she was the young boss Lu of the Lu family in Dechuan. But once she sat with Chen Guang, her mood was completely out of control. The string in Lu Fei's heart that had been constantly stretched by the family's high-pressure policy was completely broken the moment she sat in the Porsche 918 with Chen Guang. Chen Guang turned his head slightly and looked at Lu Fei, who was stretching. At this time, her movements completely revealed her perfect figure. Chen Guang glanced at her and was almost sucked away by her towering figure. He recalled what she had just said. Going to Fengquan Mountain. Was she going to race again? Strange, his entire body began to inexplicably boil with blood. The injury he had suffered from Bai Hua just now had instantly healed. Good. Let's go to Fengquan Mountain. Chen Guang nodded heavily and stepped on the accelerator. The Porsche 918, whose acceleration performance was off the charts, rushed out like lightning. It drew a beautiful arc on the spacious road in the suburbs and headed straight for Fengquan Mountain. Chapter 632. When the two of them drove to the parking lot at the foot of Fengquan Mountain, it was unexpectedly lively. There were even more people than when Zhong Bai and Wang Qing were still racing. Cars came and went in the parking lot illuminated by the nightlights. There were at least dozens of luxury cars and supercars. All kinds of passionate and explosive music rose and fell in the parking lot. It was as if everyone wanted to turn their sound system to the maximum. The maturity and departure of Lu Fei, Wang Qing, and Zhong Bai did not cause the popularity of Fengquan Mountain Racetrack to decline. It was even more lively than before. Most of the people in the crowd were young men and women in strange clothes. From time to time, there were foreigners who looked very tough. In addition, it was a place full of racing and passion. Every summer night, there were many sexy girls in revealing clothes. Some girls were brought by others, and some girls came in groups to watch the fun. Perhaps they were trying to use their beauty to enter the circle. Chen Guang parked the car near the entrance of the parking lot and said in surprise, "I didn't expect there to be so many people. I thought you guys were the only ones who liked to race in Wujing City." Lu Fei spat at him. "What do you mean by just a few of us like to race? There are plenty of people who like to race. It's just that we're good at racing. We pooled our money together to build this mountain road. In the past, we loved to come here, but without our permission, we wouldn't let anyone who wasn't in our circle come here." "So overbearing?" Chen Guang raised his eyebrows. Lu Fei was embarrassed. "It's a little overbearing, but we built the road. Isn't it a little overbearing? Now that you guys aren't coming, there are more and more people." Chen Guang rolled down the window and leaned against the door, feasting his eyes on the girls outside. Anyway, it didn't cost him a penny to look. Where else could he find so many beautiful girls with big breasts, round buttocks, and beautiful faces? Lu Fei curled her lips disdainfully. What's the use of having more people? We're the ones who really like cars. We love cars. What we pursue is speed. Look at these people. How many of them really like the passion brought about by the feeling of speed? As for them, They only used their family's money to buy a good car and lived off their parents. They came here to show off and pick up girls. Vulgar, unbearably vulgar. Let's not talk about running away with you. Among these people, there aren't many who can eat Zhongbai's dust. Chen Guang was speechless at how thick-skinned Lu Fei was. How could a prodigal woman like you, who bought a $15 million sports car, have the cheek to say that others live off their elders? Of course, perhaps Lu Fei was right. Although the group of people led by her also liked to race, their personal image was still relatively decent. They came here to seriously practice driving and did not play any tricks. Other than racing, Lu Fei, Zhongbai, and the rest did not neglect their family's arrangements. Even among the rich second-generation prodigals, they were still considered the best. But now, the young people in the parking lot were all dressed up like hipsters. It was as if they couldn't go out and greet people if they didn't dye their hair. He was a good man, but he had to put on makeup, eyeshadow, and eyeliner, and wear Korean-branded clothes. Just looking at him made one feel disgusted. Just based on the way these people were dressed, how could they be expected to do anything serious? They would probably embarrass their families if they went out to do business. Of course, it's not just rookies here. Since you became famous, many foreigners have treated this place as a holy land. From time to time, many top foreign racers come here to compete. Do you know how the Phoenix Spring Mountain Racetrack is rumored? How? Chen Guang was curious. Although the old man was no longer in the industry, there were still legends about the old man. It felt pretty good. In the international circle, it is said that the invincible racing god was trained on the Phoenix Spring Mountain Racetrack. Others treat this place as a holy land. Just a while ago, Tommy Diesel and the son of Sonic Farant came here for a run. Chen Guang laughed as he continued. Then you guys should build a statue of me and erect a signboard to collect entrance fees. Otherwise, how much money can you earn? You only care about money, vulgar. So what if I'm vulgar? We still have to change the name of this racetrack. What name? The Road of the Racing God. You're getting more and more thick-skinned. I think it's a little too, but I like it when you're so shameless. There's nothing I can do about it. I'm just so handsome. People come on a pilgrimage wherever I go. It's impossible not to look handsome. The two joked in the car, but unknowingly, they slowly became the focus of the parking lot. Although there were a lot of supercars in the parking lot at this time, the Porsche 918 Spyder was the only top supercar worth more than $10 million. Usually, Lu Fei, Zhongbai, and Wang Qing were quite low-key with Chen Guang. They were not as prominent as Bai Hua, but it was undeniable that this group of people, including Tang Xiaokai, represented the pinnacle of the rich second generation in Sichuan province. They were at the top of the pyramid. Each of them had at least a few cars, and Wang Qing had also invested tens of millions in his GTR. The Porsche 918 Spyder was just one of Lu Fei's collections. There might be other rich second-generation people in the province who did not like to race, but they belonged to a different circle. There were only 30 to 40 people who were so rich. As for the others, unless they had played together since they were young, or if you were a particularly interesting person, everyone would find you pleasing to the eye. Otherwise, sorry, everyone had their own circle, and we had ours. Everyone played their own games. Unless there was something important that they could discuss together, or if they had some common interests, they might take a second look at you. For example, Lu Fei. In addition to racing, she also had a group of friends. When they were free, they would get together to play League of Legends. Although Lu Fei deserved to be the big sister of this group of friends, she would not put on any airs. Not all of these friends came from super rich families, and it was fate that they met and knew each other. But at this time, the group of people mingling in Phoenix Spring Mountain was far behind Lu Fei and her group. The structure of the pyramid had always been so cruel, and the difference of one level was like heaven and earth. Other second or third generation, rich second or third generation, rich second or third generation, rich people might be able to steal their hearts and buy a bull worth a few million. But there was not a single person like Lu Fei or Wang Qing whose collection was worth tens of millions or even hundreds of millions. When more and more knowledgeable people recognized the Porsche 918, the crowd began to talk about the sudden appearance of the top luxury car. Who the hell is this? Can a Spyder worth $15 million be driven out for fun? I don't know. I heard that there was a big sister in Boss Zhong's group who bought a spider, but they don't come anymore, do they? If it were me, after buying such an expensive car, I can't wait to put it at home. I'm afraid that the wheels will get dirty. A young man said with jealousy and patted the roof of his Audi R8 with some resentment. It was infuriating to compare with others. Maybe some nouveau riche just bought a new car to show off? That's right. Look at that group of little bitches. Since this broken car came, their eyes have been drifting. Their pants are all wet, right? Don't talk about others. Aren't we also looking at it? F***CK. I'm not happy. I'm not happy either, but what's the use? There's a good girl in that group over there. Let's go up and talk to her. The two of them were about to attack, but the group of little girls driving the BMW Z4 and Porsche Boxster had already taken the initiative to attack the 918. F***CK. What a beast. Why are you so realistic? Animals. I'll sell a Pagani, even if I have to sell everything I have. You think too much. Young man, wake up. Your father won't agree. In the car, Lu Fei looked at the few little girls who were approaching. Not far away, there were people coming over. She chuckled and said, "Someone saw that your car is good and wants to hook up with you." Chen Guang rolled his eyes. People nowadays are really realistic, but this is not my car. That doesn't matter. Don't miss the opportunity. The little girl in the middle is quite beautiful. Looking at the little girl in the middle whose eyeshadow almost covered half of her face, Chen Guang shook his head. Forget it. I don't appreciate this taste. Lu Fei said again. You men don't know how to put on makeup. She's just wearing too much makeup. Actually, after removing her makeup, she's really a very cute little girl. As long as she doesn't mind, I don't mind either. It's a threesome. F***CKU. I'm serious. Chen Guang's eyes widened. Really? You really can't stand up to the test. You're such a hypocrite. Hey. Someone else is coming. Look over there. There are a few more little girls coming over. Lu Fei said in surprise. She seemed to be having more fun than driving her car here. The 15 million yuan Porsche 918 Spider was too eye-catching. It was destined to become the focus of the crowd. Even if it was half the price, it would not be so eye-catching. But there was a limit to one's modesty. A rich second-generation heir who could afford a 15 million yuan toy must have a net worth of at least tens of billions. Who wouldn't be tempted? Throughout his life, Chen Guang had never experienced being hit on by girls while sitting in a car, which left him overwhelmed. However, it was a pity that Lu Fei, whose figure and appearance were both top-notch, was beside him. In the end, the threesome that he was looking forward to was just a dream. Even if Lu Fei was willing, people would see that he had brought his own food and compare themselves to Lu Fei. No one else would be willing to suffer such grievances. Looking at the 7 or 8 groups of girls passing by the Porsche in a short 5 minutes, the men in the parking lot could not sit still. This was too F***king embarrassing. The girls we want to hit on are all the leftovers from your selection. This nouveau riche is too arrogant, right? Yo, Brotherly has gone over. He can't take it anymore. If it were me, I wouldn't be able to take it either. I just don't know what Brotherly is going to do. What else can he do? What do you want to bet on? Just because his car is good, he wants to show off. Isn't he looking for trouble? This is a racetrack. That's right, this guy is going to be unlucky. Compared to the others in the parking lot, Li Mo felt that he was different. Although he also hit on girls here from time to time, he felt that he was a car lover and had standards. Today, when Zhongbai and the others retired, Li Mo felt that as the newly rising #1 racer of Phoenix Spring Mountain, he had the responsibility and obligation to protect the dignity of the Phoenix Spring Mountain Racing clan. At the very least, he could not let the nouveau riche ride on everyone's head just because his car was good. Of course, he really could not stand this guy's pretentious manner. He had seduced all the girls but ignored them all. Now that the car had stopped for almost 10 minutes, he still had not come down to pay his respects. It was really too pretentious. Yo, someone is coming to pick a fight. Lu Fei also noticed Li Mo, who was walking over with a group of people. This little boy's appearance was slightly normal. He was tall and thin, with a clean and refreshing crew cut. He wore black casual pants and a pure black vest. Although he was a little thin and not very handsome, at least he looked more normal than the other men in the parking lot. Do you know him? Chen Guang asked. Lu Fei shook her head. I know his name, but I don't know him. He's a young man who has appeared recently. His level is about the same as Zhong Bai's in the past. I also heard about him from others, but I haven't talked to him. Then he's going to be unlucky, Chen Guang said with a fake smile. Lu Fei raised her eyebrows. Let's see what he wants to do. We don't have to deal with him. Bro, this car is not bad. Liamo did not know that Chen Guang and Lu Fei were discussing how to deal with him. He came up and struck a pose that he thought was handsome. He put one hand on the roof of the 918 and the other on his waist. He leaned over and said to Chen Guang, who was sitting in the car. His posture was very handsome and domineering, as if he was looking down on him. Chen Guang tilted his head slightly. It's not bad. What's the matter? Liamo curled his lips. But this place is not a place you can come to just because you have a good car. If you have something to say, just say it. Don't pretend here. It's a little annoying. Chen Guang tilted his head, his tone arrogant and insolent. No matter what this Liamo had up his sleeve or what he wanted to do, he thought he could handle it. Perhaps Chen Guang himself did not realize that once he sat in a supercar with his hands on the steering wheel, feeling the top products of modern industry, and immersing himself in this mechanical monster that was full of violent aesthetics, his own personality would unconsciously change. He would become the king of the world, the invincible god of racing. An unknown anger gradually rose in Liamo's heart. Ever since he became the #1 racer in the 5 capitals with his absolute advantage at the Phoenix Spring Mountain Racetrack, it had been a long time since anyone dared to speak to him like this at Phoenix Spring Mountain Racetrack. Liamo lowered his head and stared directly at the bald man sitting inside the car. The dim light of the night shone on the man's face. It was hard to see his face clearly, but Liamo could sense the man's disdain for him. At this moment, Lu Fei got out from the other side of the car. She leaned on the hood and said impatiently, Hey, brat, don't play games with him. If you have something to say, say it. If not, let's go run a lap and leave. Don't waste time here. Liamo got up and looked at Lu Fei's curvaceous figure wrapped in a tight jacket and leather pants. Lu Fei's heroic spirit was completely different from the flirtatious B*TCH outside, and his eyes immediately lit up. He grinned. He already had an idea. Gambling on a car was too much, but it didn't matter. They could bet on a woman. Liamo leaned over. Hey, Brother Baldy, do you dare to make a bet? Chen Guang said, Oh, interesting. What are we betting on? You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.